So now what do I do? Well, I guess there's only one thing. There's something I'd like to know. Are you real? Can you feel?
Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Prairie Vintage. My name is Linda. I'm an energy intuitive reader here on YouTube, and I use spirit and my intuition, the tarot, to communicate energies to you guys, amazing viewers. If you guys are new here, welcome to my channel. I'm so thrilled that you found me, and I can't wait to get into your reading. For those of you guys who are returning, I'm so blessed, so grateful to be here doing your reading again today. Today's reading, I started shuffling the cards, did a little bit of recording, and then had some technical difficulties. So it's a little different than how I normally do it, but these are your three options to choose from for today's reading. So I do want to put a caveat on this reading that if you've tapped into an energy that doesn't sound like the person you came here about, then it's most likely going to be your own energy, okay? But if it doesn't resonate with you or the person you came here about, then it's not your pile. It's for someone else. And you could just leave that pile and go to another pile, okay? We'll be looking at the subconscious and the shadow that each of these piles sort of hold, okay? And so what pulls through here is a lot of astrology, past life influences, karma, current life memory, moon memory, experiences, programming, conditioning, and anything going on in the subconscious that this individual might not necessarily be aware of that's happening, okay, to the degree in which it's happening or why it's even happening. So it gives us some insight around how to engage with this person so that we can understand each other on a deeper level, okay, or if it's our own energy, so we can work beyond some of the program and shadow content if you're working through your ascension journey or just working at transmuting some of your ego or whatever it is that you're doing, shadow work, in order to help you with your ascension. Okay, so please keep in mind that these readings are really intended to provide healing and growth. So if we're not feeling like we're moving the needle forward in our life, then this reading might not necessarily be the right reading for you, or / you're not utilizing the way I'm channeling here properly. Okay, and so my intention is to provide forward sort of growth and movement, even if it means opening doors that might be challenging to look at, okay? And we're not always prepared to look at shadow content. So if you're not prepared to look at shadow content, then this might not be your reading, okay? You can come back here. I love you all the same. There's a lot of readings on my channel you can go take a listen to. This one might not necessarily be the one for you. Now, I am offering on my website, prairievintagejewelry.com, a 6-month shadow work package, and it'll be a monthly reading looking at the shadow content. And like I said, we pull in all sorts of factors that are creating your shadow content so that you can work through some of this material, okay? Because it is difficult when we're just sort of sitting with ourselves to understand what's sort of hidden in our subconscious if we're not made aware of it, if we're not totally sitting with our energy and observing as a neutral observer. If it's become ingrained in our identity, then it's very difficult for us to see this. And so these readings are to help us transmute some of the shadow content and transcend beyond the ego. So we become more aware of who we are and the energy that's sitting with us, okay? So that is available through my website. If you have any questions regarding that, send me an email. I'd love to see you guys there and work with you guys. And yeah, thank you so much for taking a look at that. So this is a pick a card reading. We have 3 options to choose from. My intention is to pull the person on your mind. And if you come through, then like I said, just go check out another pile, okay? The first option, we have the Grand Trine with Blessings. For option number 2, we have Jupiter with Abundance. Option number 3, we have Neptune with sacrifice. All right, sit with this energy, take as long as you need. Close your eyes, and when you're ready, open your eyes. Whichever one you're first pulled to will most likely be your pile. And yeah, if you do feel like you've selected the wrong one or one you don't want to hear, then go check out another pile. All right, I'll put the timestamps below. I'll see you guys at your pick. All right, pile number 1, you guys picked the Grand Trine with Blessings, card number 46, which is number 10. And before I start to channel this card, let's lay all the cards down and then we'll channel the whole message. Okay, so we have Faith Ordeal with Dark Night of the Soul, 78 or 6. Delusion about loyalty, confusion and instability, loss of trust, existential doubts, extreme indecision, overwhelming anxiety. Type 6, the loyalist thinking center between mistrust and trust. Capricorn and Gemini energy pulling through. We have displacement with starting fights and expressing everything but the irritation itself. Emotions needing to be released, specific emotions regarding something that's creating overreactions. Okay, and then we have anticipation. So preparing for difficulties, but catastrophizing, planning their way out into the future, or planning way out into the future, I should say. Chronic anxiety, living in the future with the what ifs, and this could happen and that can happen, and preparing self, so much so that they're not in the present moment. Okay, and then we have the first house, sorry. So it says immediately away you project yourself, into the future. Do it on your own. Who you are, your desires, your actions. So the first house is that of self, appearances, beginnings. It's the body, it's the first impression. It's our attitude, our identity, and our approach to life. Okay, so we'll put that there. So we have 15, Archangel Haniel with joy, gratitude, and intuition. More Capricorn and Gemini energy, although some Pisces is coming through here as well, and some Leo. Archangel Haniel. And the fruit is giving me Empress energy here as well. Taurus, Libra energy. Interesting. Okay, and then we have the 10th house. House of ambitions. So the 10th house is all about our career, our long-term goals, our structure, our status, our reputation, our public image. It's masculinity. It's the house of men, fathers, experts, and fame. So some more Capricorn energy, although I am feeling a lot of Leo as well. Yeah. And then we have some naked peeps. So integration growth level 82, which is 7 and 1. Pleasure, organization, relaxation, joy, serenity, celebration, and high level of ethics. Joy coming through yet again. Type 1, the perfectionist instinctive center between control and letting go. Okay, and we got some silver here, which I usually connect that with the self that isn't necessarily at its highest capacity, because we are living a version of us that isn't necessarily to the highest potential that we could be. Okay, it's like the 3D self or the lower self, whatever you want to call it, the matrix self. Okay, and then we have the pure self with the white here, so 8, more Leo energy and Aquarius. So it says veil of ignorance, ego level, being strong, authoritarianism, personal justice. This could be this Libra energy I was feeling with the Empress. Okay, anger, denial, dishonesty, power dynamics. Type 8, the challenger instinctive center between strength and weakness. I think this is the internal battle here, okay? And then we have Saturn and Uranus with 52. Another 77, master number. Trust the fall, an adventure that arises from deep wisdom, trust of life, trust of self. So who's the self we're trusting? The pure self, the matrix self, the program self, the identity self, or the true authentic self? There's an awakening here with Uranus, the great awakener. Uranus is the ruling planet for Aquarius, which is the individual self. And then Saturn is the ruling planet for Capricorn and Aquarius as well. Okay, this makes so much sense. And then we have the spotlight effect. You overestimate how much people notice how you look and act. Instead of worrying about how you're being judged, consider how you're making others feel. And they'll notice this much more. They'll notice this much more. And you'll also be making the world a better place. Okay. Yes. Just let me put these like this. All right. I'll channel this and then you guys can skip ahead. Okay, pile number 1. Interesting energy here. I feel a strong Leo energy, but doesn't have to be this person's sun, moon, or ascendant sign, okay? But it's sort of the energy that I'm channeling here. Also, Capricorn comes through very strong. Okay, there's also some Gemini, there's some Aquarius, there's some Cancer, Pisces, Taurus, Libra that comes through here as well. I know there's lots of signs in this pile, okay? Yeah. So, interesting energy for this person. I feel like this person is going through a point, because I'm seeing what's going on around them energetically right now and why they're sort of going through what they're going through. And although this reading obviously is about the subconscious and the wounding here, it's sort of showing how this is hard to explain, but how this energy is impacting their now energy, you know, which I wasn't expecting to see, but would stand to reason, of course. Like, why is their now energy, whatever they're experiencing now, sort of being created in the way that it is really because of what has been unresolved in the subconscious. So this person carries a lot in their subconscious about who they think they need to be. Now, because this is a general reading too, I can't say that every single person here created this subconscious wounding because of their upbringing, that they had parents saying, you have to be successful when you grow up, and this is what success looks like. Okay, they could have. That could definitely create this complex. Okay, there could be a social construct belief that has happened over a period of time. And so evolution would look like this. If we aren't successful, we become exiled from the tribe or the group. And so back in the day, if we were to do our own thing, rebel against the tribe or the group, we would be shunned, ousted, exiled, or put to death. And so our only way was to work within that group, and we'd be restricted to what it was that we could actually run with, our own individual ideas and that sort of a thing. Okay, but as we evolved as humans, obviously now we're no longer in little tight-knit tribes. Okay, but how this is sort of morphed is now we're in jobs where we're sort of trying to climb the corporate ladder and like step over each other. I'm not saying that this is what this person's doing. Okay, but in a subconscious way, it's like the survival of the fittest, climb the ladder and make it to the top, what success looks like, what others expect of you. Okay? And so this is still someone who is still living in matrix. And I don't want to just put words to it, because words are very removed from what we're seeing here. This person holds an integrated belief that's so intertwined in their identity that they believe that they themselves are the person that they have become. Of course, because if we enact a certain way day in, day out, we say, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is what I must do. And this is what I continue to do. And because this is how I show up, this is who I am. However, the truth is, I have become this way, and based on my conditioning and my programming, and I'm living this life, and my soul and my intuition know of a deeper truth that is aligned with soul fulfillment, that's aligned with my authentic self, that is more in line with my purpose, my calling. And I will forever feel like something is missing within me when I'm misaligned. I will forever feel unfulfilled. I'll forever feel like I can't experience the depth of joy, the profound depth of soul fulfillment, if I continue doing that in which I'm doing right now in my life. And so this person is most likely one or all of the above, in a family situation that is no longer supporting their authentic self, in a career that isn't aligned with their purpose or soul fulfilling. If they are in an environment that is suppressing parts of who this person could be, but not because those external environment people are saying you must remain necessarily, but that this person carries within them an understanding that's sort of unspoken already in action, that they must remain how they are, do what they do, and that would be acceptable by these people in that environment. And should they deviate from that, then what would happen? There's a huge projection that if they were to do anything other than what it is that they're doing, it would be catastrophe. It would be devastating. It would be threatening. And this is the ego projecting, because the ego's job is to keep us safe at all costs. And the ego doesn't use any sort of logic so much as it uses what could be a threat in any way possible, becomes magnified to the ego. And then its job is to narrate to us whatever belief system we're going to buy so that we minimize any exposure to that threat. And so this person is well integrated into a life that's been programmed. This could be really anybody's pile, really, unless they're really awakened, So this is kind of a catch-all pile for anyone here who is sort of still believing they're the identity self. And I think the message here is much deeper and stronger, which I'll get into, okay? Because why this is here, for those of you guys who have tapped in, it has something to do with what's going on right now. But this person is thinking that the more that they lean into the energy in which they're buying, that's where this joy will be found. If only I can then become that in which I'm already holding, more perfect or more consistent or more in line with that, and then that's where the fulfillment will happen. That's where the truth will be aligned. That's where the soul will get fulfillment. So I got to keep on that stronger, faster, harder. It's the rat race. If the more I know, the more I educate myself, the more I'm like climbing up this social ladder or this ladder, then the more successful I'll be. So let me keep doing the more, but the ego is never satisfied. And the identity is that in which we wear as a coat. And as long as we wear that, which is not necessarily us because it's been the condition and the program, then it's like no matter what accolades we get, what appreciation we get, others who are valuing us, they're valuing that egoic identity, not the authentic self. So the authentic self wants to be expressed. The authentic self wants to go down a path of purpose, value. because that's its calling. And so others would see that true self and engage with the true self. But as long as the true self, authentic self, or the pure self is sort of behind the scenes, then it can't get connected to, meaning relationships are shallow. Actions are sort of mundane. It's sort of this action-orientated cycle. So the pattern this person is doing, this is where the shadow is. The pattern is do more, be more, gain success, feel empty inside, go against the authentic self. So double down and do more to be successful, because once I achieve the success, then I'll feel fulfilled, then I'll feel valued. And when I don't, I go out there and do more of that. And then I keep perpetuating this dissatisfaction, chasing a ghost and proving to the universe and to myself that I am that version of me that is expected of me. I could do this role. I could be this role. And this is why it's exhausting. And then there's a lot of anticipation, because it's like, can I sustain this in the future? Where does this end up? And then because there's this deep disconnect happening between the authentic self and the joy and the satisfaction, and then what we're actually experiencing, there's frustration. And this could appear as though this person is agitated. This person might not necessarily know why they're feeling frustration, why they're upset at what's going on in their world, or why their job annoys them, or why their family is annoying, or why they're just feeling a lot of pressure or agitation, or it's like an unfulfillment. It's like a hole in the soul that isn't experienced, and then the environment this sort of looks even more challenging or bland or depressing. And it's like, I can't escape this thing. And it's like, I'm stuck here out of my own sort of will. And we get very irritated, annoyed, whatever words you want to use, So for this pile, I think that there is, before I get into the messaging that's coming through, it's like everybody has their own authentic self. That's their pure self. Now, the pure self doesn't mean a perfect self. The pure self could be imperfect for sure, but it is free of distortion, meaning the pure self carries no illusions. The pure self has no distortions. And so if we're striving to be perfect, if we have an ideal of who we have to be, then it's not the pure self, it's the distorted self. It's living in an illusion of self, and it creates this two worlds, if you want to call it, the dichotomy of the true self and then the identity self that's sort of running the show and wearing the face. And it's the identity that's living the life, and the authentic self is sort of sitting on the back burner. And the more that this false self sort of takes on, and the longer it fills that role, that overwhelming anxiety builds up and keeps sort of cycling through in these cycles. So the sun sign usually is the natural state. Okay, the natural state, meaning we all have sun signs, of course. Okay, and this sun sign is the pure self that wants to express as the sun. The sun shines on everything. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't ask questions. It's just the sun exuding light. And so the sun is like the heart, the soul. The heart and the soul express outward. There is no conditioning or programming or anything that happens at this sun level. Okay, but what happens is that it has to go through Mercury first, and I'm using like the cosmetology of like the body, and I'm tying it back to the planetary systems. so that we understand what happens. The sun is shining, and the sun's like the heart, okay? But then Mercury is that of perception. And so the Mercury here, what that does is that it creates its own perception based on what it's experiencing. And so it's understanding information, and it's going to create patterns, and it's going to perceive certain things as good or bad, valuable, not valuable, successful, not successful. And it's going to hold those perceptions and those beliefs. Okay, and then Mercury runs this through, and it's going to go through Venus, and Venus is saying what other people are sort of valuing and what they're reflecting back to me as appropriate, as successful, as that in which is acceptable. And so the Venus is really that in which is engaged with others and approved by others, and my appearance with others. Okay, and the Jupiter is sort of magnifying that whole thing. It's magnifying that belief. It's like, when I do this, then I'm appreciated, then I'm valued, then that means I'm successful. And those are my beliefs. And it's been proven in this experience that I'm having here. And then this person will sort of run with that understanding. And so that what the Jupiter is doing is magnifying this belief, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's like magnifying anything that's true. It magnifies distortion, it magnifies illusion, it magnifies that in which we've already perceived. And so when the perception happens in Mercury, we've already sort of gone astray. And this is why when we wake up at the heart level, we could see through all perceptions that may create distortions. But when we still don't understand that we're consciousness itself, we create a perception, which is a distortion. And then the Venus goes around us and it reinforces that perception. And then Jupiter magnifies those beliefs. And so we stay on this sort of an experience of sorts that keeps magnifying our beliefs. And so this person, unless they have this dark night of the soul to awaken to true consciousness, they're going to continue believing that they are that identity and that they have to push through in a certain way. Okay, but this could create anger. This could create all sorts of energy here. This could make them want more control, because the ego says, I might lose control. I might lose my success. I might not be capable to upkeep this, or there's things outside of my control that might put me off of this path of success. And so this creates this heavy anxiety to carry, to have to be what we're not in order to make it somewhere and persist in that path, you know? It's exhausting. So this person is most likely very, very tired. So what happens here is we have a lot of this Capricorn energy, which is talking to me about Saturn. And Saturn isn't necessarily a bad planet, okay? But Saturn is known as like this energy of lessons and karma, and through persistence and dedication and hard work and consistency, then we can, you know, gain abundance. But really what Saturn does is Saturn crystallizes, and Saturn is crystallizing this person's beliefs that have gone through Jupiter, and it keeps showing back to this person that pattern. And Saturn is what repeats these patterns so that we can become conscious and see through the pattern of Saturn. So Saturn isn't necessarily creating the discomfort, or the block or the shadow or the belief or the pattern. Saturn is asking this person to take a look at the pattern of their life, to become conscious of that, of their perception, before it becomes the identity that they're running with. And so this is why there's these repeating cycles until there's an awakening here, or a deconstruction of that identity of the false self. And I feel this person, now this is what I'm tapping into their energy, they're going through this awakening of self, where the identity is being shattered, the false identity, the version of them that's been programmed, that they wore the coat. This is the self that is no longer required here. The illusion of self is creating the suffering. And so when this person is coming from their truest light of who they are, then their authenticity can connect with that of a higher truth. And the higher truth is a different path for this person. This card really can talk about great blessings, being at the right place, right time, experiences happening that are very aligned. So I feel like there's a time in this person's world that is meant for this person to experience joy, abundance, blessings. This could be the optimal partnership, romantic relationships, career that's lined up, purpose that brings this person soul fulfillment. And so if this energy is around, but this person is on a path that's sort of off doing something else that's not in line with where they're truly meant to be, then there's this disconnect from what they're being called to experience here. And of course, the ego would take this as a threat. The false self, or the identity, does not want this shift to happen, because it would have to let go of this identity. It would have to say that it is putting itself in a position to let go of an identity and then expose itself to what may happen. And what may happen is what? Very threatening. I may lose it all. I may become unsuccessful. I may become unstable. I may all these projections of what could happen, what might happen, and then double down and want more control. And so I feel like this person is trying to maintain control of their world through the ego rather than through a surrender process. And I feel like the disharmony or the suffering that happens is because this person is being asked to surrender, but they have extreme anxiety around what that would look like and what that could mean for this person. And they're projecting this understanding into the future, giving this person all sorts of reasons to stay little or stay stuck or keep repeating what it is that they're repeating here. And so I feel like this person, like I said, is most likely exhausted here. And there is a life where this person could lead that is more blissful, is more joyful, is more peaceful. I feel their intuition is calling them towards this thing. I feel like this person is very concerned with how they'll be judged by others, which means they care a lot of judgment about themselves. They have a perceived understanding or idea that comes from this Mercury energy of who they have to be and who they think that they are, that they're very identified with, that isn't necessarily the truth. And so this Uranus energy, I feel, is happening through them with this dark night of the soul. And we don't really seek it out, because I don't feel this person would be seeking out an awakening of sorts. I feel like this person is being awakened through a process here in order to give this person more peace, harmony, blessings, purpose, and joy. And they're fighting this. They're resisting this. And so Pluto, which I don't see here anywhere, is diving in deep. into the subconscious. I don't feel, so I don't think this is your energy. Okay, I mean, you could have resonated with a lot of this at some point in time. I think a lot of us do, but I feel like the Pluto's missing here because there is a need to dive into the shadow parts and really go into the underworld of the shadow self in order to see what we see there. And if this is you, then this is what it's saying. It's saying leaning into that in which is uncomfortable, leaning into that in which we think is the cause of the anxiety, and seeing it as maybe the anxiety that's caused is flipped the other way around. This anxiety is caused by the thing in which is actually the creator of what it is that I'm saying is giving me comfort and stability, because I feel it is an instability or a illusion of stability that this person carries, and they believe that to be stable. And so what this is asking is saying, could true stability be found in a place that's not exhausting? And if not, why do I believe this? Okay, now, of course, if this isn't your energy, then I'm asking this person what spirit is asking them. And it is true happiness in perfection and striving, or is true happiness sit in truth, even if the truth is a little imperfect? And there is this energy when we believe that we are the identity, that we're sort of separate from everything going on around us, including spirit. And then therefore there is this loss of trust in everything else that could kind of help us to just be, to experience just being, because I can't trust just being. I must do in order to survive. I must do in order to become and maintain and achieve. Otherwise, and the otherwise is the pressure, fear drives us. It's like fear of failure, fear of not making it, fear of like all of this stuff that I'm projecting into this future. And then carrying this understanding makes me agitated, because it's an exhausting energy. It's an exhausting trap that this person is in. So I do feel this person's fairly established, even if, let's say, they don't have a super duper career, which I do feel some of them do. It's like socially, what's acceptable of me or what I have become is that in which I have to enforce. And that role they've been in is a thing they want to keep reinforcing to the ego. And as long as they hold on to that and attach to that, this person will forever be sort of living the false and exhausting themselves and missing out on their pleasure. And then the blessing in which they're being called to experience here is the thing that's sort of being sacrificed so that they can upkeep this charade until the pattern is no more. And so I do feel like this pattern is becoming visible to this person in this process. Although, like I said, this person's being called to dive into the Pluto energy more. And I also feel like this person seems a little removed also from like Neptune energy, which is the Pisces, even though we do have intuition here, which is some, but I feel this person is very 3D involved. So the intuition might be very difficult to connect to. This person feels removed energetically from consciously being aware of spirit, although spirit can't be removed. We're always connected to spirit, but it's like when we're deep in the pattern, deep in the matrix, or deep in that sort of understanding, we don't see the impacts of spirit. We don't see the impacts of what the intuition might be calling, or what the soul might be telling us to experience here. And so we're never fully fulfilled here. Yeah. So let's pull some tarot and see what Spirit wants to say about this person. Clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of pile number 1. So when we find out there's something greater than ourselves, we have this faith ordeal, because I feel like this person has had to rely on their own self and their ego to make it 5. So if the only thing we've ever relied on became that perceived thing in which was making me survive, and then I'm asked to let go of it or to surrender it to something else that I haven't yet experienced, I don't trust it. I don't trust Spirit. I don't trust letting go of it. I don't trust any other identity. I only trust this identity that I have to maintain and be on my own and carry it sort of on my own and stress myself out and burden myself out and burn myself out. Meanwhile, there's a need to surrender, trust. This is falling away, and I feel like if this person had a choice, they wouldn't choose to deconstruct this identity. They would hang on to it, and I feel they are hanging on to it, hence the suffering. Yeah, because this person doesn't necessarily understand yet what it is that the Spirit is calling them to lean into, and it's uncomfortable for this person to change that, and which is unfamiliar to them. So they're hanging on to the familiar at all costs here, okay, even if it's exhausting them out. So clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of pile number 1. What does pile 1 need to know about this person's subconscious wounding shadow program, or whatever is going on in this person's world here for the greater, higher good of pile 1 in this person I'm channeling? Thank you, Spirits. Please protect me and the viewer as I channel this message for the greatest and highest good of pile 1. Pile 1, I'd like to take this time to thank your higher self, Spirit team, Spirit guides, angels, ancestors, and of course this person I'm channeling, their high self, and Spirit, for this act of divination. Thank you so much. So we got the Magician, which is, like I was saying, was the perception. Okay, because Mercury is perceiving that in which we're manifesting here. And look at this 3 sword in the reverse. So 3 swords is experiencing heartache, disappointments. And the reverse could be we're working through healing some of this disappointment, or we're totally, I feel it's more we're not necessarily even aware of that and which needs healing here, because we haven't plunged into this Pluto energy and we're sort of living in the 3D. Magician is 3D energy, although it does take from the ethers here to the 3D. But if we're unconscious, the manifestations tend to be very earthly based. Okay, but a conscious magician can go and see through, that's what I was saying, that Neptune energy or that Pisces energy, the intuition. Okay, but also after it's healed, after the subconscious wounding's been revealed and things have become conscious, then this person can connect to higher realms. Okay, I hope this is making sense. Other than that, then this person stays in their matrix self and they sort of keep manifesting the little self. You know, wake up, go to work, do the thing, or whatever, stay in that matrixy experience over and over again. This person's being called to heal their shadow. That's what's creating their 3 sword. And it's displaced right now because they don't understand where this frustration comes from or where the disconnect comes from. They think that they're living their self, their true self. And so why would I be miserable or feeling not fulfilled? Because this isn't where they're being called to fulfill. Yeah, 10 of Wands. So the burden is heavy here. I need to surrender, like I said, King of Wands. So there's again this image I must portray as what's the burden, how I look, what I achieve, my vision of success and going after it and making it happen. I'm the doer. I have success when I achieve. I have success when I'm seen as the person who gets it done, who can successfully accomplish things. But that's the burden here when it's misaligned in another path of achievement and success. It's the egoic self that I'm wearing. Even if I'm successful, even if I can get it done, it's not the thing in which I'm being called to manifest. And so here I get these things done with this burden on my back, which is the unhealed self, the shadow self, or the self that needs to be looked at in order for me to manifest greater things. And when I say great things, it doesn't mean better cars or better homes or better whatever. It's like greater things, meaning things that are actually aligned with my true self, greater for me, more purposeful for me, more aligned for me. But I won't know as long as I'm on this sort of trap here, that I'm distracted. Queen of Cups. So this is that Pisces energy I was tapping into. Cancer, Scorpio as well. Scorpio energies, like I said, diving into the heart energy. So the soul, the emotional body here is where this person is being called to manifest from. But if there's wounding here, if there's shadow here, if there's a block here, if there's unhealed energy here, then this person hasn't yet done the work. And so they're manifesting this magician energy from this matrix self, from the ego self, not from the soul, not from the seat of the soul, which is like the creative truth of who this person is blocked here by this understanding that they have. Okay. Oops, the world. So this is good because the world talks about concluding a cycle, a lesson of sorts. And like I was really getting from this card, I said the universe was creating this awakening in this dark night of the soul. And I don't think this person would choose it. But why? Because this is the thing that's coming to an end. This is the thing this person's being asked to see and put this whole thing behind them so that they can open the door to what they're being called to experience in their life right now. Because I feel there's an opportunity right now to give this person blessings, to fulfill themselves from a true place here, not from the ego place, because that's too heavy for them to carry. Okay. Yeah. So they're resisting the transformation. And again, this Pluto energy that I was feeling with this deep need to plunge into the shadow self in order for there to be this work done. When we release what no longer serves, when we transmute that in which is painful, then we can close the chapter and start on the new. But as long as we resist to release, because the ego's hanging on to the identity, and we haven't gone into the shadow to look at what's true and what our soul is calling, then we're sitting here resisting, creating more suffering, more burden, and saying, surrender this. But it's like, but how would I look? I want to look confident. I want to look successful. I want to achieve. And it's like, yes, you will achieve, but you'll achieve more from the purpose. You'll achieve more from the truth. You won't achieve. All you'll achieve here, even if you do achieve success, is more stress, more burden, more to carry. So I think this person is definitely resisting the process here, okay? Knight of Wands, all this wand energy. It's really feeling that Leo, but yeah, ego for sure. Because I feel like this wand, yes, fire is great, but how it's coming through in this reading is like fighting against that with the ego self more and more, doubling down more and more, because if I'm stronger, faster, harder, if I'm just be strong enough, if I confront this good enough, if I look competent enough, if I can have more success, this is the power dynamics between the authentic self and the false self. This creates this tension. This person's leaning in with their energy rather than surrendering. Yeah, surrendering to that of the soul. Because this process requires this person to express themselves from the heart, their emotions, their soul, their creative self that's sort of stifled here. It's not coming online. And it's interesting how this is like sitting down here, because this is the subconscious that's wanting to be integrated and manifested, but this person's sort of manifesting from the surface. the Two of Wands. So there's a path opening up for this person that steps outside of their comfort zone. And so the Two Wands, the guy has one wand sort of behind him, which represents the safe self, or the self that we've got accustomed to and used to. And we could continue to sort of live that world. Okay, but then the second wand, which this guy's hanging on to, is like the path less traveled. It could be your dharmic path or purpose. See how he's holding this world, and world is Saturn energy, which is that crystallizing the pattern here. And so this person is embarking on the new path, but Saturn is showing them the pattern that's been crystallized, that's been showing them something that they've perceived to be true about themselves and their identity, about their self-worth and their capability and their confidence and their doership and their success and their appearance and social acceptance. And this pressure is like a pressure cooker here, because this person wants to go down the path of that in which would bring their soul joy. But it requires a release. And it requires them looking at this pattern from a conscious place. And the ego never just surrenders that, like I said, especially if it hasn't experienced something to be its reality. It doesn't trust. It doesn't trust spirit. It doesn't trust what it hasn't seen in action. It only trusts what Saturn has crystallized. And remember, Saturn crystallized that in which got blown up by Jupiter. What got blown up by Jupiter was the illusion, the perception, that in which they created as their reality. And so there's a truth that's being shown to them that's difficult for this person to see. So let's go in one more layer here and see what Spirit wants to communicate about this person, and why this Three of Swords is sort of sitting here in the reverse here, because I was feeling there's unhealed. Because like sometimes it could be the healing of the pain when it's in the reverse, but I feel like it could also be like this need to heal. It hasn't yet come conscious yet. So let's see, Spirit, what do we need to know for this person that we're channeling here in regards to their wounds, their shadow? What does Pile 1 need to know about this person? Clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good. What is it that Pile 1 needs to know about this person's shadow and where they're at? So the 10 Wands can't carry on like that, okay? And the 10 Wands is like there because the death is in reverse, meaning they're resisting change. They're hanging on to the decay or the old self or the parts of self that have already been played out. Like there's no more of that self that can succeed. There's no more of that self that can maintain what it was maintaining successfully. And it's not because all of a sudden this person became unsuccessful. It's like, no, but whatever you used to try with that identity no longer works. And so I'm trying to keep it all together with the 10 Wands, but it no longer works. So let's see what's going on here with this person. Clear and concise message. What is this grand trine blessing and the 3 swords in reverse, Spirit? Can we see what is going on here? Okay. 5 cups. Disappointment, looking at what doesn't work. Meanwhile, the blessing is standing here, but we're too focused on the thing that doesn't work. 3 cups. We're too focused on the 3 cups. Society, what people think, public image, my friends, my family, wanting to fit in or appear a certain way, rather than seeing the joy that's standing here. This could be experienced such as joy, but here's the only joy that I've ever known, even though it might be superficial joy, false joy, or conditioned joy or manufactured joy in some way. It's the only joy I've ever known and experienced. And now it's like not happening here. It's not happening here for a reason, because the Uranus is awakening them to a blessing here, a 2 cup, which is more connected to soul rather than 3. 3 is more a superficial Venus energy, but the 2 cups is being able to be experienced and reflected back to this person, which they're not seeing. They're not understanding this yet, okay? Empress, which we were feeling from this card when I laid it out, Taurus Libra energy. So this is being able to give and receive love, create from the heart space. Yeah, true unconditional love, knowing self-worth, self-value, abundance, self-appreciation. This is beautiful divine feminine energy, creative fertility. Okay. Oops, star energy. Following our purpose is to create, to build, to give from the heart space here and align ourselves with our purpose and heal this mother wound or this inability for us to connect to something deeper here. And I think this person is strong in their masculine energy, because I was feeling from that King of Wands and the 10 Wands, it's like doing, achieving, do more. You know, I could really resonate with that energy. Meanwhile, the universe is saying that there's masculine and feminine. This feminine energy needs to know how to receive, how to relax, how to allow the universe to take the wheel and surrender and align with the North Star here, which is the purpose, the destined path, which is that 2 Wands energy, the dharmic path. It doesn't require a doership, doesn't require an ego. It requires this person to listen to spirit, work with spirit, and at certain points surrender, not do anything. No, this doesn't mean sit on the couch and just not do like whatever there's a hair here, whatever universe is calling this person to do, but it's like not through an egoic force or a need to chase, prove, control, or attach to identity. It's like I allow things to shift here without hanging on to it or hanging on to things in which I need to let go of, so that I can align to that in which is my calling. The 9 Pentacles. But I fear with my anxiety that what if I can't? This person feels like they have to create on their own and that they're creating on their own. And they co-create with spirits. That's the thing. This person isn't just a creator in the universe that's this like, only the ego would think that the I is that the point of origin that creates, you know? It's like, no, spirit works through us in order to create. There is no doer that's creating. We're just enacting spirit. And so this is why this person could literally like, it's like their life depends on it. It's like, I must create the environment in which gives me confidence, security, stability. And if I don't have the security, stability, or the resources or the thing around me, then I can't learn to just surrender into who I am and what I'm about. And so the narrative could say, if I don't fight for it, I'm lazy, or I'm not good enough, or I'm going to be judged, or I'm just like not going after it, or I'm not successful, or I'm going to be, I don't know, like without money or without a place to live or without some form of support here around me. And I need the support. And so I better appease these people. I better upkeep these people. I better live this world and upkeep this world so that I can have the confidence and the world structure around me to help create success around me. And so there's no way I would just sort of not do that, because then this falls away. But the truth is that underneath all this proving and massaging the energy in a way that's like mechanically sort of making oneself fit in, this is like leveling up to that in which we trust spirit to birth, that in which comes from the soul without having to chase it. So this is pre-Empress energy. This is Empress But this in reverse is really telling me that this person is being called to lean into an Empress energy, regardless if they're masculine, doesn't matter, or a male, because we carry the masculine, feminine energy, but it's like we have to connect to both energies within us in order to know when to utilize what here. But this person is so fixated on what they feel their energy would have to be in order for them to succeed. And anything that goes against it is impacting their confidence in themselves to achieve, to be secure and stable and create the world in which they're envisioning, because I feel this person has a materialistic understanding of what's going to make them happy. It's like this in the material world is all there is, and that's what's going to make me happy. So I might as well strive to get there. And if I got to strive to get there, I have to have the buy-in of those people in that society and my family and that group of people that are also feeding that. And it's like a big cycle here. Yeah, Two of Wands in the reverse. We're seeing it for a second time. So it's like when I'm not conscious, I don't see that wand in front of me. When I don't feel like I'm confident to go where it is that I feel I need to be, otherwise I could like die or like be completely destabilized, going in a different way outside of what's expected of me. And then I just sort of collapse and I don't see that there's even a choice for a different sort of future, that I'm making decisions more aligned differently. I'll just keep doing the same thing here. Yeah, this person collapses every time, and that's the Death in reverse. You know, the Emperor in reverse, lack of confidence in self. And especially if it's like someone who is like a doer, like I have to get it done, like it rides on me. I'm the one that creates the order, the structure, and we alone have to create our own world. We alone build the 3D world that we live in. We alone create the stability around us or the society we live in. We alone. And then this we alone energy keeps cycling through, needing more to keep up and to create that world, because the ego is never satisfied. At any point, it could be threatened, its stability or security. And then we don't really fully trust that we have everything here that's needed to secure this. And there goes my email. And this is where the anxiety comes in, or this anticipation, because at any point, anything can come and threaten this thing. So it's at my mercy. It's exposed and it could be taken away. And so I feel threatened. And so really it's a lack of confidence in me succeeding any other way than that in which I know. But it's like, no, but that is the conundrum here. This is the point of suffering. So the feminine and the masculine coming through. And like I said, this card talks about a blessing of a relationship that could work out here. Like work out, meaning it's destined. It's our person. So this person could be so blinded by what they're being called to experience. Okay, like harmony that they're about to experience doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but I do feel with the Empress and the Emperor could be our soul's destined partner path. But we lack the confidence to take a risk, to allow the universe to guide us with truth and authenticity, that we're trying to be the confident self from the ego. Yeah, illusion, confusion, and we're deceived by the moon. So the moon distorts the energy, and I'll explain this like this so we understand. So like I said, the sun is the radiant, is the heart, and it exudes the energy pure. The moon takes that energy that went through the Mercury energy, and the Mercury created its perception, and the moon memory holds the emotional experience. So how it's safe to feel what has happened to me when I was engaged in a certain way, or when I did something, or when I connected to an emotional experience. Whatever has happened got held in my memory and my subconscious. And so now the sunlight distorts and bends through this moon energy, and it creates kind of like I don't know if you want to call it a kaleidoscope effect. It creates this distorted way of me seeing what the sunlight actually looks like. But I'm creating this by my holding this moon memory of my experience. And so every time the light comes through and it casts through this moon, it's going through the veil. And this veil is the one that's creating the illusions, that's creating the fears, that's casting the shadow. That's not necessarily true. And what this shadow is being created by is this belief of a self that is lacking the confidence here to succeed unless it tries to do something of its own accord. So I got to be strong. I got to be tough. I fear anything that I puts me in a feminine energy, because feminine energy has proven to me at some point in time, which is a distortion, by the way, that it's created some form of a vulnerability. Being too soft created an exposure. And so I must be hard or tough or structured or consistently striving and achieving and succeeding and pushing through and making my own, forging my own way here, and steamrolling past opportunity to love and be receptive and heal this thing. And now I'm looking at what I have around me here, and it's unfulfilling. It's a 3 cup, because it's on false energy. It's on a false self. It's a society, a community, a family, a relationship that is superficial. And the 2 cup can only be experienced with the true authentic self, when the self is not in shadow, distorted, comes from sunlight, not through the fear, not through the shadow self, or the self that is holding these distorted beliefs. This is what needs to heal from the subconscious. So I think what this person's experiencing right now is that they're seeing the disappointment in their environment. And I don't necessarily feel like this person knows that how much power they actually have in working with spirits to change their perception. I feel like they're just sort of looking at the aftermath of disappointment, and it's not leading them to where they might find fulfillment at all. Yeah. 6 Pentacles, and then the 7 of Cups, and the reverse. I feel like this person is trying to do whatever they can in the 3D to offset this experience. So it's like, I got to figure out different ways to engage in the 3D, then I'll be happy, or then I'll be fulfilled, or then it'll put me on this path, or then it'll be something here. And it's like, what Spirit is saying is it goes beyond this 3D. This person's being called to connect to something higher and greater. But I feel like this person is I don't know if they're going to get more confused before they get clear, if that makes any sense. I feel like they're going to have to go through a process. And I feel like this person is still in the early stages here of an awakening through disappointment, because there's only so much disappointment we can experience before we sort of have to shift here. And I feel like wherever they're at, whatever they are experiencing, they can't sustain that. And then it's like, well, then what, you know? And I don't think this person wants to go and then what? Because Seven of Cups in reverse is like, I want to minimize confusion. I want to minimize all that. And so I'm trying to keep it simple. I'm trying to keep it structured. But it's like you're controlling how it's going to flow. You're controlling the ease, thinking like you could keep your options sort of black and white or simple. Meanwhile, there's another energy here that's trying to come in, and this person doesn't want to entertain anything other than that in which they've experienced, because it threatens this at the end of the day. All right, so I hope this made sense to you guys. We have Taurus, Libra, Aquarius, and Cancer, Aries energy pulling through this pile. All right, I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye-bye. Pile number 2, you guys picked Jupiter, Abundance, card number 7. So before we channel the energy coming through with Jupiter, we're going to lay all the cards down, and then we'll channel what it is that's coming through here as the message. Now we're looking at subconscious shadow content for this person. This could be coming through as the person on your mind, which is what it's intended to be, but it could come through as your own energy. If this sounds like you or who you're not wanting to hear, then you don't have to listen, okay? Sometimes Spirit comes through with their own energy so that we can understand ourselves better. But some doors sometimes aren't ready to be open. So if you're feeling like you're not in the mood to hear your own shadow content, then you can definitely go to another pile, okay, and revisit this at any point in time. So this is going to pull through anything that's impacting this person subconsciously, whether it be astrology, whether this be karmic, past life, ancestral, moon memory, meaning experiences, emotional experiences we've held from this life, from past life. This could be anything that sort of pulls through here that's impacting this person. Okay, we'll see. So let's take a look. We have the Warrior, number 8, courage, taking on challenges. Cancer, Leo, Aquarius energy. And we have intellectualization. So this is, it says, common with neurodivergent people. So mental processing as a way to not feel. Not wanting to be in the body, stays in the mind and needs a bridge from the mind in order to experience the somatic feelings. And they like to talk, potentially even talk about what has happened, but not necessarily feel. So that's their defenses. And they might even say, I know and I understand why, but and very self-aware, but not necessarily that they've integrated or experienced the feelings in order for them to change. Okay, let's keep going. Melancholy, so wistfulness, sadness, gloom, spleen, depression, perpetual lack. Type 4, the individualist, emotional center between lack and abundance. Fixation, ego level 40 and 4. Aries, Scorpio energy. And we have rigidity, 55 and 1. So 55, master number. Change is the only constant. Divinely orchestrated change. Gemini and Virgo. I'm feeling very heavy Gemini here with this intellectualization and this Mercury energy. Okay, stiff upper lip, harshness, OCD, austerity, inflexibility, and intolerance. Type 1, the perfectionist, instinctive center between control and letting go. All right, and then we have liberty, 82, and another 1 here. Gemini, Virgo. So liberation from limits, high mind intuition, letting go, ethical alignment, deep inner peace, grace and forgiveness, mystical experience. Okay, and then we have Taurus energy. I have and then we have declinism. You remember the past as better than what it was and expect the future to be worse than evidence suggests it will be. Despite living in the most peaceful and prosperous time in history, many people believe things are getting worse. Use metrics such as life expectancy, levels of crime and violence, and prosperity statistics. Okay. Planets, Mars. Drive for the confrontation of an action. energize, confront, and force yourself to. So Mars is masculine energy, Aries, Scorpio. All right. Makes sense. And then we have Saturn, card number 50. So 5 coming through, 555. More conflict, change, the rebuild. Let's read the Saturn energy. It says, conjunct sextile trine. In the primitive state, you refuse to grow up or take responsibility for your life, as you have no say in it. Instead, you place all the blame on other authority figures. In the adaptive state, you realize that you're now responsible for your life, both its consequences and its opportunities. You get down to business and make your life work for you. Evolving, you have rolled up your sleeves and done your work. Out of diligence, you have created incredible, lasting value in the world. Other people marvel at what you have accomplished. In conjunct opposition square. In the primitive, you're blocked, hindered, and oppressed. Four walls crush in on you with no sense of an exit. Adaptive, sensing that this particular impasse is temporary, you gain allies and helpers to help you figure out how to make use of this adversity. Evolving, you do not let any obstruction or detours derail your incredible sense of responsibility and maturity. Others are in awe of this. Okay. Let me tap into this energy. You guys can definitely skip ahead. Okay, I have all right, for pile number 2, this person believes something very strongly about themselves that I think gives them this sense of being strong, empowered, courageous, in charge, accomplishing what it is that they can choose in their world. Okay, but it's an illusion cast by that in which they hold as a belief, and it's magnified here by this Jupiter energy. So what Jupiter does is it magnifies that in which whatever is around it. So if it's an illusion or something that is distorted, it magnifies the distortion of the illusion. And of course, if it's abundance and clear thought, then Jupiter can magnify the abundance and clear thought. Okay, so what I think is happening here is this person could have proven to themselves what they feel life is like, and they believe it to the core because they can rationalize or intellectualize, I should say, the understanding. And the more they understand it, then the more real it becomes. And then Jupiter expands that belief. But just because they intellectualize something and understand it, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the whole truth or even the full truth or even part of the truth. It's this person's perceived understanding of something. So I feel like this person's shadow is that they're very fixed on their understanding of what they've experienced. And of course, our experiences form that in which we hold as a belief. And so if we've experienced all the things we have, it becomes real in our minds, and then we project it onto everything, go forward from that, which means this person is still asleep. Because if this person was conscious, they would know that their experience doesn't dictate the present moment, nor does it dictate the future moments. And so I feel like this person is very fixed on their understanding of how things work, how things will work, and they believe to know the truth. And so what Spirit is asking this person here is to say, is it possible that we don't know the full truth? Is it possible we can have bits of the truth that contort and make the truth look a certain way that are actually further away from the truth than the actual truth itself? Is it possible that experiences have happened at some point in time, but have absolutely no weight at all about the present or the future of what will happen and can happen? And so I think this person is very identified with that in which has happened to them. And so I do feel like there is this, I don't want what's happened to me to happen again. I could do whatever I need to prevent things from happening to me like they've happened in the past. I do not want to reproduce, recreate, or experience anything I don't like that's happened to me in the past. And so I have an understanding and I intellectualize how I can avoid it, how I can create a certain world that will minimize my impact of all the things in which I do not want to experience. Now, this doesn't mean seeing something threatening in the back alley and then just like, ooh, I'm just going to walk in there and then like get like mugged or something like this. Of course, if we can make conscious decisions not to put our lives in danger. But this goes much beyond this thing. This is all about finding an inner peace when we can connect to the truth of what's going on, not from the mind, but from the inner knowing of embodied, integrated understanding. So the mind carries a belief, but then the body knows of truth. And so if we stay in the mind, projecting those beliefs, we could be projecting them all day long and see them to be true out there. And I feel like this person has had an experience that wasn't the greatest here. So I don't feel this person is projecting abundance all over the place. I feel this person feels abundance can come, but I gotta get it. I have to face challenge. I have to be smart. I have to do these things before abundance can come to me. That's the intellectualization. It's like, no, there's nothing that needs to be done before abundance can come. There's no need to chase abundance. So I feel like this person is asked to connect to that which is deeper than the mind, so they could come embodied in that in which is the truth, and let go of that in which they think to be right or accurate or truthful, because it's not necessarily. Because what's happening is this person is acting in the world with this Mars here like they know the truth. So Mars in the placement takes our perceived understanding, no matter what it is, whether it's true or untrue, or whether it's whatever that distorted belief is. Jupiter magnifies that belief and says, when I do this, this happens. When that happened, this was a result of this other thing happening. Therefore, I understand this intellectually. I magnify that belief, and then I act as if with Mars, because this is acting as if. So what I do or don't do, the action I take, what I say, is this Mars energy, and it's all based on the past. My past experience, my past disappointments, my past understandings have proven to be real, have proven to be true. And so Saturn crystallizes this, meaning Saturn will keep repeating these patterns in our world. Saturn wants us to see the pattern of what it is that we're having to break through or see through in order for us to grow spiritually. So Saturn isn't creating the problem or the wound per se, but what Saturn is doing is it's taking whatever belief was magnified by Jupiter, and then it's crystallizing that as a way that we see and engage. And until we sort of shatter that belief or see that pattern, we keep repeating the same thoughts and the same thing. So I feel like this person has a belief that there is scarcity, and Spirit wants to show them abundance, because I feel they have a belief in limitation. And we can say, okay, well, if we don't believe in limitation, then it's sort of like, we're just like with rose-colored glasses, or like believing this like fairy tale world that like everything is like all abundant at all times, and it's not real, and my mind shows me otherwise because I'm looking here and it's like I don't see all things right here. And so of course on a mass we can't have everything show up in one point all at once, but in the energy that is being lived out here, it's everything that this person has experienced in their lifetime all happening. And it's up to them to align their frequency, because all of these frequencies are happening at once. But this person has a stronghold on their understanding that is guiding them down one frequency and one frequency only, because that's what they believe to be true. And so I must be here to prove and to fight and to be strong and to upkeep this belief in lack and scarcity. But it's like, no, there's abundance, there's paths of abundance, there's more truths here that are greater than that in which we hold. And it's saying, can you open your minds to experience outside of that in which we hold as truth? Can we connect that our patterns of what we do and say are based on our attachment to that in which we are already assuming is true, because it's held in the mind, even if the mind it didn't actually have the ability yet to see whether this was a grand truth held by the universe or something that was just held by the self, by the egoic self. This intellectualization of the belief sort of came online based on an experience and then crystallized into that being true. And so we keep repeating that in which we think is true over and over and over. And it keeps showing us that thing. And it's like, well, then it is true. Well, then it's complete truth. And it's like, no, this is just a perceived experience. And it's actually not true. And that there is abundance outside of this. And that if we knew that there was abundance outside of this, then our actions would be different. And we would engage differently, and we'd be open to more than what we are open to. And so anything that is creating a limit, a limiting belief, a limiting experience, limiting choices, all of that stuff would sort of fall away because we're seeing through the illusion. But right now the illusion is magnified, jumbo. And so it looks very real to me. My truth is real. It's like, yes, it's a relative truth. It's a perceived, but there is other things that could be even more true here that we're not experiencing, that we're creating the limitation by holding this. We're the ones. And so I feel like this person feels like they're really stuck in their mind, and that there's a higher mind that comes from spirit that is challenging the way this person thinks. But this person would have to sort of loosen their grip on their understanding in order to see that. And when they see that, then they could magnify that understanding and then break the pattern or see through their patterns. And then they would act differently and sort of make different decisions and not project in the same way that they project. So I feel like this person keeps perpetuating lack in their world, limitation in their world, the understanding that they have of how the world functions, and they just keep living that truth. They keep perpetuating that channel of timeline over and over and over and justifying it because it's mentally makes sense. And spirit is really coming through here saying, is it possible that whatever mentally makes sense could be a partial truth, and that there might be higher truths that might be more liberating, that are around abundance, that could be experienced here, but that our fixation and our rigid way of thinking is limiting us to that and perpetuating this lack mindset or this suffering or this capping of our experience here. And we can't grow outside of this, and we're attached to it more. And then we're dressing it up like it's something that's a strength, or like it's all knowing, or like, thank God it's intelligent. It's like, thank God I'm intelligent because now I'm not going to be exposed to suffering, or now I'm not going to be exposed to lack, or now I'm not going to be exposed to poor experiences I've had in the past that made me feel certain ways that I'm trying to prevent because I don't want to feel that way no more. And those are all actually not necessarily full truths of what's going on. It's saying in the present moment, whatever it is that we can choose when we're conscious, we'll have an opportunity to choose if we're aware. But when we're not aware, when we're still hanging on to mental beliefs, we create that construct and that limitation. So before there's even a chance to make decisions, we're already in action in another timeline. Okay, I hope this makes sense because I know not everyone's sort of understanding how this is coming through. We're here and we have many different timelines. They all exist. Take it as different frequencies of consciousness. Here we are, different frequencies, different channels, highest or lowest. We could become a heroin addict, or we could become whatever, the just an enlightened soul that's completely at peace and full of abundance and awareness. So whatever path is sort of up to us, and we can say, no, it's not up to me. And we would be intellectualizing what we've already experienced as the truth, and then shutting down certain doorways to those paths because intellectually I haven't seen it, experienced it, understand it. And then I forge my way down these paths based on what I know and experience, and then I close other paths. And this is saying this is a lack mindset, because the mind can be used for sure. But when the mind is the only thing that we're sort of using in order to create these decisions in real time or in presence, then it already comes with a preconceived understanding based on its past experiences. And that's going to trigger limiting experiences. That's going to make us react in certain ways that we would have never reacted if we were conscious and present and not living from that mind. So conscious presence means everything that's happening, I'm here and I'm conscious and I can make decisions. But if I'm already in the mind story, I'm ready to act, I'm ready to respond, I'm ready to forge my way, because I'm magnified in that understanding. And then I suffer because I might say, well, no, I'm not suffering because it could have been worse, or I could have experienced challenge, or I could have, so now we're just squeaking to get by. And this is lack mindset, because what it's saying is there's a liberation from any limit here. There's a letting go. There's a deeper inner peace. There's an ability to be in the present moment without having to sort of outthink the universe or outthink the moment or outsmart it or know better or have to stay on a knowing path, because it's not about a mind knowing. It's about an embodied change that this person is being asked to experience here. This person could be also very defensive. Like this person might be very opinionated, defensive, knows what they want and don't want based on what they've experienced in the past. And it's very fixed. And so they're missing out on a lot of abundance, opportunity. And they think they're doing themselves a service. Meanwhile, they're doing a disservice, because this is just upkeeping an experience of the past that's created a reality that's crystallized over time that keeps proving this person's intellectualization over and over to them over and over and over. And now it's become their fixed reality. Yeah, fixed reality. And so it's like, I can control my world. I can do certain things or not do certain things. So I can create certain outcomes and not create certain outcomes. But it's like, imagine being more conscious and really having even more ability to control outcome rather than a narrow, because this is a narrow way with this preconceived understanding. If all things were possible, and I was conscious, and then I could choose to act in that moment, I now have an option of many different things. So now it opens the door to more control, if we want to call it control, because I'm consciously, I could choose which way this is going to go. Do I want to get into an argument? Do I want to get along to go along? Do I want to create some new understanding here? Do I want to say anything? Do I want to move differently? But if we come with this intellectualization, we're already coming with some sort of preconceived chip on our shoulder, ready to defend our opinion or belief. We might not even attend, or we might go there defensive, or we might try to convince someone or something about some truth that isn't necessarily a truth at all. But we're just perpetuating this understanding. And so the more we perpetuate our understanding, the more secure we feel, because it proves our reality to be right, and it secures our footing. And this is why we get threatened if anyone challenges our opinion. It's like, you're threatening my identity. You're challenging my belief, therefore you're challenging me as a person. This person is very identified with their beliefs. Okay? And like, it's become who they are. And I think they're very proud of this thing. And they're not their beliefs. In fact, their beliefs are half truths here. They're not even fully in the know of the truth. So, Spirit, clear and concise message regarding pile number 2 and this shadow, this subconscious program, this wounding. Can we see some more regarding pile number 2? Pile 2, I'd like to take this time to thank your higher self, spirit team, spirit guides, and the person you came here about. Higher self, spirit guides, angels, ancestors, for this act of divination. Thank you so much. I think I saw the Page of Cups in the reverse. So this person could be emotionally immature, meaning they haven't developed their emotional body yet. I feel they're more comfortable for sure in the mind, because being in the emotions puts me at risk in some way. So I'd rather know more than feel more. Yeah, there's a block to emotional experience here. Okay, Ace of Swords, no more swords. 9 of Wands in the reverse. So remember, it's a defensive. So something about a truth, clarity, honesty. So what's the truth? Like, if we think we know the truth based on our past experiences only, we're missing the actual truth of the present moment. Okay, hang on. Let me see. 2 of Swords in the reverse. Justice, a Libra, more sword energy, 6 of Cups, 8 swords, limiting beliefs, childhood, karma, past life. Okay. Page of Cups in reverse, exactly as I sensed it. 7 Pentacle, 5 Wand, King of Cups in the reverse. There's the block of emotion like I was talking about. There's the conflict. Okay. And then we have the Tower in the reverse, and then the Ace of Pentacles, 2 aces here. Okay. Give me a moment here, because I feel there's lots of energy that I still need to channel here. Strength. Yeah, the strength is this warrior energy here. Courage, taking on challenge. 8 energy, which could be the egoic self as well. So just give me a moment. Okay, the message is very clear. I don't know how many people are going to tap into this pile, or that'll resonate with, because it doesn't seem like it's such a huge, big, deep shadow here, but it's an aspect of shadow right now that's most relevant going on with this person. Okay, Libra, Leo, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces energy. I feel like what Spirit is showing, there's a karmic experience here, and I do feel it comes from past life. And it could also be intertwined into this person's childhood in this lifetime as well. Okay, in fact, they do feel it. It's also encompassing the life they chose to have, the experience they had as a child. But for a lot of you guys, there could be a past life experience here that's creating a lot of memory in our energy system. Remember, energy can't be created or destroyed in any way. It just transmutes and it transforms. And so if there is energy that is being held in the energy body that has certain frequency to it, unless we do the work or transform that energy or do whatever we need to do with it, it sort of remains as a thing here that's being called to look at, because spirit does these soul contracts. This is soul contract to me. Okay, soul contracts could be with other people. Soul contracts could be experiences that we're being called to have in this lifetime to learn certain understandings so that we can grow spiritually, so we can understand lessons and move beyond certain concepts. This lesson of limitation, this is scarcity. This is having an understanding so much so in the mind that it restricts my movement. It restricts how I can grow as an individual, how I can love, how I can connect to soul experience, how I see others, how I see myself. It's very limiting when we're in the mind. This person is a lot in their mind, and they're upkeeping this not on purpose. Nobody wants to feel imprisoned and stuck. And how we can keep this up is when we truly feel strength. By the more I sort of know, the ego creates a story and a belief that feels more empowered. It feels more in control. It feels more like I'm taking charge. It feels more like I'm facing things when I can see and know and understand in my mind. So I feel stronger the more I sort of conceptualize. But that's false, because it's not the full picture. Yes, we could, the more we sort of know, the better understanding we can have of certain things, but it doesn't mean we got to the bottom of the grand truth, or even that we see the full truth. And so let's just say we have like a jar, and this jar, we can't see inside of it, and it has a little hole, and we could put our hand in there and pull out certain things. And we could like put our hand in there and pull out like a whole bunch of different objects. And if we only pull out certain objects, we could say, in this jar, there's pennies. Meanwhile, at the bottom, there could be Skittles. There could be spiders. There could be all sorts of other things we can't see in that jar. And so to say this jar holds pennies because I pulled a penny, and therefore that's my reality, and all those jars hold pennies. And that is my intellectualization. And now when I see those jars out in the universe, I automatically know there's pennies in them. And it's like, yeah, maybe you only pulled out one penny, but the majority were all Skittles and they're all rocks. But we never experienced the Skittle, the rock, the spider, nothing. We couldn't see beyond the thing in which we experienced. And this is the limiting belief. And we run as though it's true. This person also has a block to feeling what it is that they're being asked to feel, because it doesn't necessarily make sense. They can't make sense of it in their mind. So what they're going to do is they're going to try to double down on what they know about the feeling they're having. They can express what it is that they're thinking intellectually to themselves, or at least identify to themselves in their mind. They might not necessarily talk about it out loud, although they could. So the thoughts are expressed, but this person could not put words to what it is that they're feeling emotionally, especially if it's like something that they can't process through the mind. It's like, I don't have a word for it, or if I can't intellectualize it, then I just feel uncomfortable. I'm conflicted with just feeling and sitting through this thing. So I feel like this person is their worst sort of enemy, and they fight against themselves, because it's like strength is not in feeling. Strength is in knowing. Strength is in understanding. Strength is in what I can make sense of in my mind about it. That's also limiting, because it's like, no, strength is in allowing ourselves to feel and integrate that in which is experienced, and pull in feeling emotions, as well as that in which could happen through the mind, to create an energy here that's not limited by one or the other, that's avoiding emotion. So this person avoids and suppresses emotion here because it conflicts with their mental story and their mental narrative. And so all Spirit is saying is, what is this person going to experience right now in their world? Is a block to potential, an opportunity that could come to them. Or they could choose, they can experience. They would be able to see clearly what's in front of them as an experience of abundance. Something to be grown, something to be experienced, something to be healthy and lived through. But it's like if they can't see it, they're too busy arguing with themselves. They're too busy being blinded by what they think is true. And then it blocks all manifestation and opportunity here. And then they will do anything in their power to upkeep this mental belief, including fighting themselves, holding themselves back. And so Spirit wants this person to understand when they get defensive, is this defense trying to upkeep a narrative story that they believe to be true about the universe or about the people in their world or about themselves? When this person is defensive, are they defending their own beliefs? Because if their belief or their understanding or idea of something was to be contradicted, would it threaten their existence? Would their identity be threatened if their understanding that they held as to be true ended up being not true or ended up being partially true? Does this mean this person is weaker? Does this mean this person is no longer courageous or strong or capable? It's like if this person was to really be devil's advocate with that in which the thoughts they held, would they collapse because everything I believed was an illusion? Therefore, I don't exist. Therefore, it's going to impact my world so much that I'm going to be removed from opportunity, or therefore I'm going to be weaker, or therefore I'm going to lose control of my ability to make decisions in a way that is what I think is right. Or are they open to the possibility that there are truths here that could come through, aside from that in which they hold, that could open up the door to many other possibilities of truth, and it wouldn't strip them of their power, their courage? I feel this person is really, really being asked to sit with emotions without making stories of it. That there isn't words that we have to put to every single experience or attach to it or have to mentally understand it, because then that means we're in control, or then that means we're strong, or then that means I have power if I can put words to it or understand it. In fact, feeling the feelings will give this person more courage, because then this person can become more embodied with mind and spirit and their emotional body integrated fully. But I feel this person is really not wanting to be vulnerable, not wanting to explore uncharted territory. And they might even consider this as strength, and this is not. And then they get conflicted when emotions do come up that are being called to be integrated and felt. And I feel like what Spirit is saying is the more energy, time, and effort we put into the reality that we're creating, that is full of blindfolds and limitations and not expansive, the more exhausted we're going to get, the more it's not going to get anywhere but keep us sort of in a blindfold, and the more it blocks the opportunity. And so this person is asked to see beyond the illusion of the blindfold and the limitation, and where they're energetically pouring and loosen their grip in order for them to experience emotions, even if it makes them think that they feel like they're being vulnerable here, so that they can bring in this emotion into a more embodied self, so that they could be more in line with the truth. Because I feel this person thinks that they have the truth and that they know more than they know. Meanwhile, there's a big pocket that they don't see, know, or experience. And so their truth is actually very distorted, very limited. And it's conflicted, and because it's a partial. It's missing a whole other channel here. This person is emotionally shut off or shut down or suppressed and avoidant. And so others cannot emotionally connect with this person. And if we can't be emotionally connected, what do we experience? Sadness, depression. Okay. So this is Six Cups energy as well with this melancholy. And so experiences of the past in which feeling emotional energy has created an understanding that I hold, that I'm being called to look at, that's untrue. The relationships of the past, the childhood of the past life of the past, whatever it was of the past that didn't feel good, that was around the emotional body, created an understanding of an untruth that karma is asking for me to see. And as long as I don't see it, I stay stuck, limited, thinking I'm in control, thinking that I'm like in power, thinking I'm courageous at the expense of a deep soul fulfilling experience, creating challenge in my world, conflict potentially with others who can't connect with me on an emotional level, and blocking any opportunity of manifestation for future opportunities. And that's the great truth. So let's see. I don't know if I named the signs. I'm going to do one more round here, okay? Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, Libra, Leo. So, yeah. This person does seem to have a little bit of an arrogance around them, or some sort of a pride. And I feel like it's a pride based on an experience that they had, and then they intellectualize it as truth. And then as long as they hold that, then they feel they're sort of in the right or in control or safe. You know, it's like their safety net. As long as I know this, then I'm safe. As long as I have this understanding, then I can keep myself safe from vulnerability or from being exposed. But it's like, no, we're not seeing the full picture. In fact, we're creating a very tight, fixed, rigid limitation that's blocking our future happiness, future potential, future joy, future fulfillment. So, Spirit's clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of Pile 2. Person Pile 2 came here about, we just channeled. Can we dive in a little deeper? What has been missed? What does Pile 2 need to know about this person? I think this person's been hurt in the past emotionally, and so it's easier to sit in the mind, you know, and then justify why we're in the mind. What does Pile 2 need to know about this person's shadow wound? Clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of Pile number 2. Emotional fulfillment. They're missing out on emotional fulfillment here, for sure. They're not satisfied emotionally. This is probably pretty exhausting too, you know? They could be fairly happy, and I feel like Spirit is saying there's an opportunity for them to be emotionally fulfilled, completely fulfilled. Knight of Wands. Death in reverse. Scorpio energy. 3 of Wands in the reverse. 5 of Cups. 10 of Pentacles. High Priestess in reverse. Pisces energy. And then we have the 9 of Wands in the reverse again. And under the Knight of Wands, we have the Sun in reverse. Leo energy. And then we have 4 Pentacles in the reverse. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, the messaging is very clear for this person, and it sort of has a right here, right now. The past is so prominent in this person's world, even if they're not consciously thinking about what happened to them. The energy body of what has happened to them is driving their every action because they intellectualize that with a story of understanding. And it's dictating their little world. And I say little because there's huge potential for this person to experience fulfillment and joy and happiness. But they're too focused on the what ifs, because the what ifs are all surrounded by the what has happened in the past. And therefore I understand it to be true. And therefore that means it is true. Therefore it will forever be true. And therefore I have to prevent that. And so they don't move, they don't expand, they don't grow. They're not in the present moment of growth and movement and expansion. They're stuck in an energy of the past. No matter how much more they learn in their mind, or no matter how much understanding they have about what has happened, it's still playing the same record. It's the experience of the past that I understand and intellectualize, that's creating a limitation that I didn't like, that's experiencing disappointment here. And it doesn't allow there to be shift or change. And so I don't see what I don't see. And I don't hear the calling because I'm too fixated on the past. And so if I'm not in the present moment, I don't hear the calling. I don't see the calling. I'm not connected to that which is greater. And what is greater is this present moment is we're acquiring engagement so that we can make decisions when we're awake, when we can see. But if we can't see, we're blinded by the mental thought that's holding the grip of us so tight that it keeps us stuck in the past. I feel like this person has a false understanding that they're gripping as truth, so much so, and that they're pulling their structure and their world from that, and that they got to protect this at all costs because the ego does not like when the structure gets threatened. It doesn't want to be sideswiped. It doesn't want to be threatened. Of course, who wants to be threatened? But it's assuming that there is a threat when I let go, or a threat when I no longer believe the way I believe. Then I'm open to threat. Then I'm open to this negative experience. And so I'm already refusing the future before it even got going. Like the future is going to be threatening, bad, repeat itself. And that's an assumption. It's like whatever is going to unfold, unfolds, because the universe has control and power. And the only power and control we really have is to see the present moment and say yes or no. Engage or don't engage. That's it. We have the present moment, and that's it. We don't have anything else. I think this person likes to imagine some sort of world that they're in, or they have all of this power and control, where they can massage reality for themselves so that they can create this world of support, a world of stability, a world that they pull their power from, but it's perceived power and it's not true, and it's stagnating them. It's keeping them stuck. It's not allowing this person to move or grow. This person does not see the truth in front of them until they let go of that in which they're holding on to tightly and surrender. And so the surrendering is really about no longer pulling in the past memory or fear or disappointments like they are something that's made to repeat or made to keep experiencing in our world over and over, like it's going to be for sure experienced again, the disappointment again. It's like, allow ourselves to be in the present moment. Whatever has happened in the past, release it. Make peace with it. And this doesn't mean accepting it in a way that says what happened to me was acceptable, that it was just, or that it was fair. And remember, there's a lot of past life stuff that was coming through here, so we might not even realize or know why it is that we're sort of hung up or not growing or not moving or not open to opportunity. It's because in the subconscious, there was an experience that disappointed me, that left me feeling lack and again, like regret or disappointment or sadness. And my experience was so poor here, and I want to prevent it from happening again. So therefore, I do not move from this place. The only way this person's going to work through their karmic justice and bring balance into their life is to let go of that in which they experienced in the past, which I do feel is tied to their emotions, because I feel like this person was emotionally let down or disappointed. And now they want to control their happiness, and they think happiness lives in the mind. To be happy means my mind must know exactly what's going to happen, how it happens, and make sense of what happened and the truth of what happened. It's like, no, that's just the mind. That doesn't mean the feelings are going to go with it. And so what's happening in this person's world is if there's something that goes on, which there always is in the present moment, that is allowing this person to connect to feelings, they're missing it by automatically going up into the mind and creating a story or an understanding in their mind, which I feel is always going to be removed from the present moment, removed from joy, removed from experience, removed from being able to be in the present moment to make decisions that their soul is wanting that would bring them joy and happiness. It's like, whoa, I can't just act on my emotions. I can't just make decisions based on a whim or based on this, because I must show restraint or control, which is that strength card. I must control myself so much so and remember the past and remember what happened and prevent it from happening again, or else my security, my stability is going to be rocked here in some way. But it's like at the expense of true present happiness, joy, and experiencing the truth of a situation. So this person is living in denial. I feel like there is a truth that this person can experience in this present moment that would bring them a lot of joy and happiness if this person were to experience the present moment and let go of the past. I feel like this person is karmically being shown to learn about this, and it'll take them as long as it'll take them, where they're sitting in disappointment and missing out and not able to see the forest for the trees, and keep sort of focusing on this until they can't no more in it. And then they learn a process of surrender through disappointments. So they're on the path of awakening. They're on the path of dropping this ego. And the ego, how it shows up here is the ego that is really attached to their mind is the truth. What I believe is the truth. That's an egoic understanding. To say I might believe and perceive certain things that don't necessarily mean they're true, but they've been my experience, and I could be open to that, in which could be different, that there is a possibility that there's different things that I haven't experienced, and be open to this and release that in which I've experienced. So I'm not chained to the past. This way I'm open to growth. This way I'm open to movement. This way I can actually see beyond that immediate experience and be open to new things that will bring me actual happiness here. But I can't experience the fulfillment of actual happiness when I keep attaching to that thought story through the ego, like I'm right, and I refuse to let it go. And then I create this a world that is lacking emotions, that's more built on this understanding, but it's at the expense of being fulfilled. It's at the expense of not connecting to my heart. But what we don't see, we don't know. So there is some ignorance here. Okay, so we have Scorpio, Pisces, Libra, Leo. Pile number 2, this is your reading. I hope this helped you. I'll see you at the next one. All right, bye-bye. Hello, pile number 3. You guys picked the card of Neptune, Sacrifice, number 10. And we're looking at the shadow content for this person, their wounds, their subconscious. So this energy could certainly be your own energy, okay? But I am intending it on being the person you came here about. So if this doesn't sound like the person you came here about and you don't want to hear about yourself, then go to another pile, okay? This could certainly be not a pile for you at all and for someone else. So just consider that. And yeah, let's take a look at the energy here. So this is going to be pulling through past life, karmic stuff, astrology, moon memory, meaning what it is that our emotional body is housed based on this lifetime. Okay, could be ancestral wounds. Whatever is sitting in the subconscious here will pull through. Okay, so let's take a look. We have Sun, Pluto. Wow, number 10. So you guys got 10, 10. And I'm getting binary 1010, masculine, feminine, polarity coming through 101010. So something about programming as well. So the Sun and Pluto. Pluto's the shadow planet of the subconscious, the underworld. The Sun is the heart, which is the truth, clarity. Sun in the shadow here. 10 is all about completion, ends of cycles, transformation. Okay, we have expressive talents. 25, or the number 7, creativity and the arts. This is giving me Pisces energy. And we have Neptune here because I feel like there's something about the intuition that comes through with this creativity. Okay, but 7 is Cancer energy. All right, and then we have projective identification. So interpersonal projection. It says, then we behave in ways to make it true. Yes, so it's unconscious, and it's like we could push other people's buttons, or we could create the world to evoke that in which we believe. And we say, see, I just created this. Well, we don't say we created, but we say, see, the universe is exactly as I understood it to be. So we unconsciously are like creating our own world to support and reinforce that. So we project one's own rage or anger or helplessness, whatever it is, we project onto our situation, and then we create a reality saying that it's supporting my truth. Okay, so it says it feels extremely manipulative. We can confuse this with a narcissist, and it's transference. So meaning we do it and others can see it very clearly, us doing it, like us creating our own reality to support our truth. So much so, because if anything were to shatter that reality of how we believe, then our identity could sort of be crushed, exposed, and then it'd be death to me, okay? Because the ego would feel like death if it were to be parted with its identity. So it must do everything in its power to upkeep that belief. Wow. Alrighty. So we have harmony, tranquility, kindness, calm, comfort, adaptation, friendliness. Type 9, the peacemaker, instinctive center between forgetting and asserting oneself. Virgo and Cancer energy. Solar plexus energy, temperance energy as well. Sagittarius. Okay. And then we have feeling unidentified. Scorpio, Aries, misunderstood, insensitive, unseen, annoying, unimportant, unrecognized. Type 4, the individualist, emotional center between lack and abundance. Basic fear. Yes, okay. So 10, 10, and 13. And those are all numbers of transformation and ends of cycle. Okay, and then we have helplessness. Yes. So remember, I said they could project one's own helplessness and upkeep this victim story alive. Okay, 8 is the number of the ego, but this is coming through the shadow and the wound with the Pluto energy here. Pluto. Okay, feeling of loneliness, loss of control, vulnerability, dark thoughts, return to reality, physical exhaustion. Type 8, the challenger, instinctive center between strength and weakness. So we have some Scorpio and some Leo. And some Aquarius, although I don't feel very much Aquarius there. And then we have neglected daily life, 58 and 4. Spiritual victimization. Okay. Feeling unworthy, coming up twice. Idolization, comparison, desire of recognition. feeling unimportant, unrecognized, a desire for recognition, attachment to the past. So we have more Scorpio, Aries energy. The individualist emotional center between lack and abundance. Ego's pitfall, stress level 58 and 4. To 4 here. I feel it's this way. No, sorry. And then we have 1. 101010 is feeling, okay? So 1s are all about new beginnings, potential opportunities. It's Mercury energy as well. 1, house of self. So first house is the self, appearances, beginnings, body, first impressions, our attitude, our identity, and our approach to life. Okay. And then we have optimism bias. You overestimate the likelihood of positive outcomes. There can be benefits to positive attitude, but it's unwise to allow this to affect your ability to be realistic. Ironically, if you're making more rational judgments, you'll actually have a lot more to feel positive about. Okay? And slippery slope, asserting that if we allow A to happen, then Z consequently will happen too. Therefore, A shouldn't happen. Colin asserts that if we allow children to play video games, then the next thing you know, we'll be living in a post-apocalyptic zombie wasteland with no money for guardrails to protect people from slippery slopes. All right. And then we have Pluto coming through yet again. Wow. So resurrect, gets to the heart of, do or die, you must. A need for control of, an obsession with, a power struggle. Scorpio energy. Okay, let me tap into this energy. You guys can skip ahead. Let's take a look at this Sun and Pluto energy, and then we'll begin to channel. So that's number 10. It says, conjunct sextile trine, you are a lord of darkness. You bring people into your lair to manipulate, torture, harm them without a glimmer of consequence. We're getting this manipulative energy again. Okay, you're aware that your personal power rests not in manipulating others for selfish purpose, but in your ability to channel divine grace and wisdom. You forego self-centered will to empower and direct your potency towards service and gratitude, evolving, understanding that you are here as a flicker, a temporary flame. You relinquish control. You surrender to being used by the divine to promote and transform and well-being of others. In conjunct opposition square, in the primitive state, you are locked in the underworld. Pluto. Mirrored in the basest of emotions and feelings. Adaptive, you recognize that your ego is going through a death and see this as an opportunity to enlarge your sense of purpose and identity, to choose to no longer be identified with the past. Evolving. Through your dark night of the soul, you're able to find the gems of awakening, the polished jewels of personal psychological growth. As you collect them, you bestow them upon others. Okay. Yes. Okay, pile number 3. Some of the signs here, heavy Scorpio energy. Some Aries, Leo, Aquarius, Virgo, Gemini, Cancer. Okay? Yeah. So this person, I do feel is going through an awakening here. Okay? But what's going on in the subconscious? This subconscious that this person has, which I feel a lot of people could probably relate with at one degree or another, but I feel why it's coming up is because I feel this is the biggest shadow this person is dealing with. So let me get some water. Hold on one second. And this is why it comes up here. I feel like this person holds a victim story. Okay, now we're using words here, and when we hear victim story, we might think this isn't true if this is our own energy. But of course, if we see it in another, we could see it very clearly, and that's the point. That's the shadow. This person would not recognize that this is their shadow at all. There's a true belief here, and it rides on the victim story that they truly believe about themselves. And then their universe keeps confirming that for them over and over and over and over. But I feel like this is coming up from the surface, and that the universe is shining a light on this understanding that this person has had about the truth of who they are in order for them to create a different universe around them. So I feel like this person is undoing this programming that they've held of who they are, that's been given to them from who knows, past life. I'm not quite sure because I'm not seeing where this got infused into this person's identity. So this could be a mixture of past life, evolution, so past lives, but their energy, which has no beginning, by the way, and no end, but no beginning, is going through a series of lifetimes, evolving, spiritually growing. And so in this body, in this now, this person has a misconception of the truth of who they are. And that the world around them is either going to see their self-worth, and then they'll feel valuable, and they'll feel worthy, and they'll feel important, and they'll feel loved, and they'll feel appreciated, or their environment is going to not see them and value them and appreciate them. And then they're going to feel like they're not seen, not appreciated, not approved, lacking, disappointing. And so this shadow is coming through saying that your world, you, for this person, your world is going to tell you your own value. Your environment is going to tell you, do more of this because it's good, do less of that because it's not seen in a way that's going to be positive or appreciated or valued. And so as a body, identifying with form, meaning I am this body, I'm going to do that, in which brings people to see me in a way that they value. And I'm going to stop doing that, in which people don't like, or that doesn't support my love of self. And so I'm kind of thrown to and fro based on me sort of projecting what it is that's going to support this positive reinforcement that's going on within me. And I'm going to avoid anything that might not support that positive reinforcement within me. But what happens when we start to live this way? We're like pushing out certain things and then attaching to certain things and chasing certain things. But when we drop all of that, everything opens up, and we no longer chase or attach or need to prove, and we emanate from the core of who we are. Self-love, self-worth, self-appreciation. It doesn't need to come from the outside in. It comes from the inside out. Okay, so this makes sense when we hear it logically. Inside out, it radiates. And therefore, it no longer seeks approval. It no longer needs to chase what's going to say it's worthy of love or not worthy of love, or it's worthy of being appreciated, or that its service is valuable or not valuable, because it knows this person will know, I generate my own value when I'm authentic. I create my own source supply of love. I create my own appreciation of self because I am worthy as I am. But when I have a core belief in the subconscious that says I'm not worthy unless I'm of service. I'm not worthy unless I'm being told I'm loved or appreciated or valued. And so if my environment doesn't do it, then I'm not appreciated, supported, and loved. But what they don't realize what they're doing is when they are in that environment that they're creating, I feel like this person perpetuates more of that chase energy, more of these situations in which don't feel very pleasant. I could say, well, why would this person want to create people in their world and environments that's showing them that they're not worthy and not appreciated and not valued? Who would want that? Nobody would want that. But why do we do it? Because our subconscious wants to mirror back to us something that needs to be healed. And so the subconscious is mirroring out there back to us something we're rejecting about ourselves. What's this person rejecting? Connecting to self-love, self-worth, self-value. And they're seeking it out there. They're seeking external validation that will tell them that they're worthy, that will show them that they're appreciated, that will tell them there's a purpose to them. And so out there, I must see it. It must be reflected to me. And so this is why when we let go of that need to prove, or when we see through that illusion, that it isn't about how I appear to others, but I let my true self shine, the true self, then only the truth remains. There's no distortion, there's no perception, there's no resistance, there's no manipulation, there's no control or attaching or proving. There is just me and my authentic light. So the one, house of self, is the sun. And the sun represents the heart. Why? Because the sun is the center of the solar system. It emanates light on everything, and it doesn't discriminate. Our heart is that of the doorway of the soul, of love, and it emanates love and light onto everything, and it doesn't discriminate. Unconditional love. The soul knows its worth, and it shines the truth. So the one, the sun, is the truth. This is the true self. So the true self, when it's at the base level, is pure, is authentic. Okay, and pure doesn't mean perfect. Pure means it's in line with truth. Imperfections doesn't matter. If there's certain ways that are socially unacceptable, doesn't matter. The authentic self is the truth because it's the pure self as it stands. It's the one, it's the sun. And so the sun doesn't care whether someone likes that sunlight or doesn't like that sunlight, whether someone wants to judge the sunlight's too hot or whether someone says the sunlight's not enough. It doesn't care. The sun just keeps shining on with itself. It knows its value. It doesn't need to prove that it has value, although the sun won't know it's the sun unless it reflects back to it off an object. Then it can see itself. If it's just like in outer space, let's say the sun, and there's no planets, there's no stars, there's no nothing, and the sun's just emanating this beautiful light, it won't know that it exists in the solar system. But when it reflects back an object, it reflects back to it, it's light, and it can see itself. And so the same way, okay, like this cosmetology of this like person and how they're acting through the subconscious, it's like the authentic self sits there, but now instead of just shining out, the distorted lens becomes that of the perceived knowing, okay, which are all the other planets, by the way, and they all sort of work hand in hand. But let's use the moon, for example, although I don't see moon here. Actually, I do with the sevens. All right. Is this the pile I saw sevens? I thought I saw sevens here. Yeah, 7. I thought I had another 7. Anyway, the moon. So the moon holds memory. And the moon distorts that light. And because the moon doesn't hold any light itself, the sun reflects off the moon and then it distorts and bends that light. And so the moon will remember what it's experienced. And then it goes and it distorts this energy or this light in a way that we believe it to be. However, it's coming through the moon, but the moon's the veil. The moon's the distortion. The moon is this wound. Okay, but it's like what's happening is that this person has the authentic self sitting underneath all this distorted energy, and that there's something emerging to be seen here about their true worth, self-worth, and their value that cannot necessarily come and be reflected from another in a way here that's going to heal this wound or be a consistent truth that then is like going to be able to be used by this person as their ultimate truth. They have to connect to their ultimate core in order for them to find harmony, peace, and know that they're valuable as they are, exactly as they are. So I feel like this person is in a current experience in their world right now that I feel is an unconscious loop that they project, that their experience is going to unfold in a certain way, prove a certain thing to them that's going to support their belief. It's going to unfold in a way, and it's going to control some aspect of themselves in a way that they're not going to like, and that they're just a victim to this unfolding as it unfolds and as it happens. Meanwhile, the truth is that there's a power that doesn't sit with their external world, that they're not as helpless as they think, that the external people and their circumstance and their environment, if it's unpleasant, that has nothing to do with this person shining their light and connecting to the self, and then being able to shine that outwards so that what is meant for them can be revealed, so that light can shine in the darkness. So all they're doing right now is supporting that dark belief and shining their light outwards in a way, though, that is more projecting than it is shining the light of awareness of what's going on within them first. So I feel like there's a shadow, and then there's a spotlight outside, looking outside, and the shadow persists within them, saying, hey, take a look. Take a look at the truth that's going on within you. Take a look at your true self. Shine your light inwards so you can see the truth. And then you won't be seeking out there the validation or the love or the appreciation or having to prove yourself or your self-worth. So I feel like this person is their worst enemy when it comes to how they engage with energy, because I feel like if they see something as good according to them, it reinforced this belief. Look, I am valued, so I got to be more of service, or I got to do more of that thing in which earns this self-worth or earns this love or earns this proof. And when something doesn't go good, then it's like reinforcing this belief that I'm lacking, that I'm unseen in a way here that doesn't validate my worth or the truth of what I can't see in the shadow. Because in the shadow, we all know that we're divine light and that we are already worthy without it being shown or appreciated or anyone sort of reflecting it back to us. So this person is limited by what they can manifest here until they could shine their light in their shadow wound. And I feel like this person does seem almost like they can use their emotions to manipulate others, obviously not purposefully, but it's like their emotions will be pulled by whether something is feeling right or good or validating my worth. And then I could hit a rock bottom when things aren't aligned or aren't showing my self-worth, and therefore it's bad. And so now my emotions come through as moody or angry or withholding or disappointing or argumentative or something like this. And so I feel like there's these two sort of energies this person can be in. And it's really like at the drop of what their environment is doing. And of course, the environment is always an influx, always, because manifestation of form is always coming and going, just like the waves, just like the days of the week, just like the years. Just like everything has a cycle of life. There's cycle. So it's coming, going, coming, going, coming, going. And so their modes, emotions are up, down, up, down, up, down. Highs, lows, highs, lows, highs, lows. Good, now it's bad. Good, now it's bad. Good, now it's bad. And it's going to forever be like this because the projection of the mirror is always an influx. And so Spirit is saying this is exhausting. This is going to create a belief that at certain times I'm valuable, and at other times when it's down, I'm not. And it's a dictator of me. Here I'm good, so I'm going to do more good things so I could be appreciated. And then I got a bad result, and so therefore I'll remove this part of myself, or I won't acknowledge this part of myself. And so we start to act like that. But then the reality is that we still experience disappointment. And then we try to control reality even more. I'll be even less like this and more like that. And we start to get very limited and refine ourselves so much in a way that's like towards the self of the ideal self, rather than refine ourselves towards the pure self that's authentic. And then we get so constricted. And it becomes this way to live. And we must do this in order to be valued, and we must do this in order to connect, and we must do this in order to be seen. And so what we're sacrificing here is the truth of who we are, the truth of our true expression, the truth of what we can create from the soul, from the authentic self, from the self that is connected to that which is spirit and all that is, which is true. And only from there can we create harmony. Only from there can we create balance. And so this person is being called to create balance in their life, temperance energy, and harmony with those around them, and be more consistent with their emotional field rather than up and down and being pulled to and fro based on what's experienced in the outside world, by finding their own core value and connecting to that self-worth inside, and knowing that when they do engage in the universe, whether others see it or don't see it, whether others approve of it or don't, whether others validate it or witness it or comment on it or do anything at all about it, it doesn't take away from its truth, because the truth is that this person is valuable and can act from the place of the core truth and feel connected at all times without the need to get approval from an external source that will take it away and then give it to this person and then take it away and then give it to this person. It's like, no, I can be connected at the core of this truth consistently and know my value and know that what I do is coming from the true place of authenticity and creation and expression, rather than me being coerced, limited, restricted, and then trying to make that world exactly what I think is good and refuse and reject and eliminate what I think is bad. And it exhausts me. Okay, so clear and concise message here for pile number 3, Spirit. What did we miss? Pile 3, the shadow wound. The subconscious wound for pile 3. Can we take a look at what's going on beneath the surface here? What do we need to know about this person's shadow, their subconscious at this time? Clear and concise message for pile number 3. Please protect me and the viewer as I channel this message for the greatest and highest good. Pile 3, I'd like to thank your higher self and your person's higher self, spirit teams, angels, spirit guides, ancestors, and spirit for this active divination. Thank you so much. We are so blessed to be here. What's going on subconsciously with this person? What is going on in the shadow wound of this person? What does pile 1 need to know at this time? This person is like an emotional ocean. I feel that this person can get very much pulled into other people's emotions and lose themselves and need to learn about boundaries. And yeah, this is really pulling through here with this Pisces energy. Okay, so 7 cups, Queen of Swords in the reverse, 3 swords, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, 5 Pentacles in the reverse. The King of Cups, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, 9 Pentacles, Ace of Wands, and the 2 of Swords in the reverse. The Hierophant, Taurus energy. Under that, we have the Devil in reverse and the Page of Swords in the reverse. All right. Give me a moment. Page of Swords, Queen of Swords in the reverse. Yes. Okay. So pile number 3. This person, I do feel everything that I channeled is coming through here. Okay. There's suffering that's experienced here, and we could really feel like heartbroken or like separate from those in which we love. Like we're a separate person and we need to be welcomed or loved or appreciated, or to see your own value, your own self-worth, to feel like we belong, like we're capable. And Spirit is saying, like, in order for us to feel like we belong and feel capable and feel confident and solid in our energy, it must come from within, not from the mirror. Because I feel like this person's experiencing a mirror here that is showing them something they don't like. And it's like, if I keep experiencing the thing that I don't like, then it means I must be that. And so I have to change or do this or do that and try to manipulate energy. That's why this manipulation kept coming through, because it's not that this person's evil or wants to manipulate people, but it's like they want to manipulate circumstances so much so that they'll find the support, the love, the appreciation, and confidence that they know that they deserve. But it's like, it's not going to be out there, because out there is always going to be fluctuating. So I feel like this person's experiencing a lot of confusion, a lot of ups and downs, not necessarily knowing what is true and what's not, because it's not seen. It's like, I gotta experience my truth rather than go inwards and connect to it. I must see it out there. And if it's not shown to me, then I'm lost. This person is lost because it hasn't been shown to them. It's like, I want to feel loved. I want to feel appreciated. I want to feel that I'm seen, and that I could stand in that confidence and be told that I'm valued, and that and all of us deserve to have people tell us that we're loved and appreciated and valued, of course, because it feels good. But this isn't where we derive our sense of core self from. Remember this sun energy. The sun shines regardless, and it doesn't ask Mars, can I shine please? And it doesn't go ask Saturn, you never told me that I was doing a good job shining on you. The sun just does its thing, and it shines and it shines. And this is their true nature. Okay, but sometimes there's clouds and storms and all of that stuff, which has nothing to do with the sun. And the clouds and the storms is the manifestation and that we're experiencing when we experience others that might not see our worth, that might talk down to us, or that might have their own shadow that has nothing to do with our self-worth. And so as long as we're attached to that way of proving, when that person reflects the opposite in which we want to see, then we sort of take that as some sort of hit on our own confidence. And it creates a lot of confusion about who I am and what I'm worthy of, and whether I'm as good as I think, or whether I'm like need to be better, or whether I'm like lacking. Am I worthy? Does this person think I'm worthy? Am I good enough? Am I valued? Am I confident? It's like, I don't see it. I don't see it out there. I don't see it. And all I keep experiencing is lack, disappointment. And it's like, no, we need to break out of this understanding, because this is an understanding that's coming from the shadow wound. This is an understanding. Oopsie. We got some naked people here. This is a shadow that is coming up to be seen and understood, so that we can clarify our own self-worth through the internal reflecting and knowing and understanding. So the pain here is highlighted, because when we suffer, it's like there's only so much suffering we can sort of experience before we say, hey, what am I not seeing or understanding about the truth of who I am? What is this experience trying to show me? What sort of narrative am I holding in my mind? Am I holding a victim story that I believe to be true about myself? Am I attributing my own self-worth based on what this person is showing me or not showing me? That the truth that I carry is actually untrue, that I'm carrying my experience as truth, that when someone doesn't notice my self-worth or doesn't compliment me or doesn't support me or doesn't value me or doesn't love me or doesn't do something or says the wrong thing, and I'm holding that as my truth, and then I'm running with that, and then it creates this understanding of myself that's not true, that's distorted, that's lacking, that's missing something. And then it creates this massive confusion because I know inside myself somewhere the truth, because we know that we're the sun. Our heart knows that we're connected to the self here. But the moon and all the other distortions create this, like I said, this distorted light that's trying to come from the heart. And so where does this come from? This comes from a conditioning and a belief that I need to be approved and accepted. And so this is early at birth. This is, I care about what society is going to say. I care about all the programming that has happened as a result of me having an experience that has shown me my reality. And therefore, I must toe the line of what's expected of me, what I tell myself is acceptable or not, or what people around me are going to tell me what's acceptable or not, or what has been acceptable or not, and what people say is worthy and what's not worthy, and what's to be loved and what's to be shunned, and what's acceptable and what's not. And so this is creating this, because as long as we carry that belief, then we are not in line with the sunlight, the authenticity. We're distorting it through, like I said, moon, whatever you want to call it, through this hierophant first. It's like I must go there first to get approval. I must check it against my system first. So it's authenticity shining, and then it's like, whoa, let me check it against my system. My system says this, my system says that, my system was programmed. That's why the ones and zeros is programmed to believe this right, this bad, this good, this not. And that creates complete confusion. So if this person is experiencing confusion, complete cloudiness, I feel like a lack of boundaries as well within themselves and their world, or I don't know, like what people have told them is acceptable and not, and then I feel like this is what's creating this suffering for this person. And Spirit is asking, what is your truth? Connect to it first. Understand it first. And then there will be an ability for you to stand in your environment on this truth, in this confidence, in order for you to move forward out of confusion and in greater truth. I feel like this person might be too concerned on what other people are doing or showing or expressing and emotionally giving to them, that they feel without when emotional expression is withheld or not given. They can't generate their own love, their own value, their own. It's like, it's not coming. I'm not seeing it. It's not reflecting. And then it's like, whoa, it like magnifies this experience that doesn't feel good. And so I feel like there's a spark here, because I feel this spark is what we need in order to shine the light on Pluto. There's an awakening happening, but I feel it's like an early process of awakening here, where this spark starts to cast the light bigger and bigger and bigger, where we start seeing the truth. That maybe if people are not showing love, or if they're not being clear in the time where we need guidance or clarity or truth, then it's like we have to create our own. Well, we always have to create our own to begin with. And that other people might be confused, or other people may not be reflecting back to us anything, or communicating or showing or anything at all. They could be withheld, they could be removed, they could be doing whatever they do, they could be coming or going, they could be completely just not engaged or involved. But our truth doesn't waver based on that person's coming or goings or showings or not showings, but it needs to be experienced and understood and seen first. And it's saying, shine this light on what we're saying is what we're saying is bad. What we're saying is attributed to us. Meaning like, I'm not worthy of this, or I'm not seen, or I'm not being valued. I'm just discarded. I'm discardable. I'm not cared for. I'm all these things that I am. It's like, are we sure we are? Because we're not seeing and understanding the truth. It's like, shine this spark that will start to cascade on the truth here. So let's see some more. I have a feeling I'm reading for a lot of you guys here with this, okay? But Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, Taurus, Capricorn. Okay. Spirit, for pile number 3, this energy that I'm channeling, what does pile 3 need to know about this energy that I'm channeling? Clear and concise message for the greatest and highest truth that pile 3 needs to hear right here, right now, about this person, this shadow wound, this experience. Clear and concise message for the greatest and highest good of pile 3. What do they need to know about this? Page of Swords in the reverse again. So confusion with the Six of Cups as well. We don't see or understand. We're on the wrong track mind. We need to start somewhere differently. Yeah, we need to start somewhere differently. Okay, that was the spark. The spark in a different area of investigation. Right now it's blocked because we keep using the same mind pattern to think the same thoughts. Not good. It needs to come from this person, or from this way, or from this understanding that I have. And we keep putting that mold onto the situation over and over to try to prove it. This is how I prove my self-worth. This is how I'm going to prove it. This, then I'll be appreciated. This, then, is how I'll be loved. This, then, will make me then feel happy. It's like, no, that's actually untrue. We're not seeing. We need to turn the way we think, and we need to go inwards and review and ask those questions. Like I said, is my worth only really truly valued when someone acknowledges or sees it? And if someone does not, does that mean it's less valuable, less truthful, less loving, less clear? No, that could mean this person is in shadow. That could mean they didn't see it, or they didn't acknowledge it, or they have a challenge expressing, or it could mean a whole bunch of things. And so this person is being asked to ask questions about the truth of who they are and see their own value without the distorted understanding that they have, that they're creating and projecting with their environment and the people around them. 2 Pentacles, 7 Swords, the false self, 5 Cups, disappointment, regret, looking at spilt milk, King of Swords, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Okay, Page of Swords is clarified by the 9 Pentacle. There's a 9 Pentacle again. Yeah, Page of Swords again in the reverse. 3 Pentacles in the reverse, 2 Pentacles. And the Page of Pentacles in the reverse, 2 pages. And then we have the 9 of Cups. Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Spirit. What's under all this stuff? 6 Pentacle and then the Tower. Okay. Pile number 3, I have a feeling this is your energy, okay? But it doesn't have to be. But I feel like you might be experiencing if this is you, flip-flop it, crisscross it, okay? We could be dealing with someone who could be quite like a King of Swords. And this King of Swords could be very removed from emotional expression, for sure. We saw the King of Cups with the 2 swords in the reverse, okay? So I'm getting the same energy, which tells me we could be dealing with someone who feels deeply, but maybe has difficult time sort of expressing or connecting to the feels to expression, or to act on expression, or to show truths on expression. And we can experience disappointments. And this person could certainly be in their own shadow, meaning they're not authentic to how they feel. They could be very discouraged based on their own experience of themselves, and therefore how we experience this person is the mirror back to us. Okay, but that's just a side note for someone here. Okay, and so we can see how someone's own shadow, someone's own inauthenticity, someone's own hindrance, someone's own wound, someone's own false self could be a mirror. So what does that mean? If I take that mirror and I run like it's true, then I'm running like with a false information. Okay, so there's a false information here that this person believes about themselves. And it is how they derive their self-worth from. And it's like, if people don't want to collaborate and work with me, and I can't build with others in this 3D, that means this, and this about me is true. I'm unworthy. I'm not workable. I'm unloved. I'm incapable of creating with that. So something must be wrong with me. And sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down. Why? Because like I said, the universe manifests and unmanifest these things in form, because just like a wave is formed, we see the wave, and then the wave goes back into the ocean. So just like storms come and we experience a storm and we can say, oh my gosh, it's going to be stormy forever. No, and then the storm fades and then it's a beautiful sunny day. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Manifesting. Form manifests in and out, in and out, in and out. And if we're depending on a consistent manifestation to create of another that's going to be in rhythm with us constantly forever, then we're under a misbelief. We're attached to an external thing being consistently formed forever in a consistent way. That's not going to happen. We don't understand it properly. So we can't peg ourselves to things that are in and out, up and down, to peg our own self-worth and our own self-value to that. So there's an opportunity here that's blocked. And I feel like the big block here is created until we understand and start to go down a path of understanding differently. Where can we find our self-worth? Within ourselves. Where can we find the truth? We have to go down the journey of exploring the truth in a different way about our own confidence, self-worth, and what we can build, and then be ready to build that from that core of truth and authenticity. Then things could come and go, but we could keep continuously building. And as people come, they build with us, sometimes for a season, sometimes for a lifetime, sometimes for all of a ham sandwich, like I say. Okay, but we can't control the form, how long it stays, how long it goes, whether it collaborates or cooperates or what it's going to do. And it has no bearing on my own self-confidence and self-worth and what I could build. I could build without somebody there. If somebody's there, great, then they're there. And I can't control how long they're there. And it's not going to waver my own understanding of what I can build. And it's not going to close doors to opportunities for me, because it's like, oh, this person doesn't want to collab with me. I could never become a YouTuber. I could never have an ultimate relationship. I could never have children or get married. I could never, that's it. The door is closed. This experience means this and it means that. And it's like, no, it doesn't mean any of that. We're on the wrong track mind and we're still attaching to the form of what that thing could have gave to me. It's like, but I really wanted that relationship. I really wanted that collaboration. I really wanted that partnership. I really wanted to create that thing. And without that thing, it means this, and this. Slippery slope. Asserting that if we allow A to happen, then Z will consequently happen too, therefore A should not happen. It's like, if they rejected me, if they don't want to build with me, then this means it's going to happen in this way, and this is what it means, and this is like, no, that's not what it means. It means we've experienced something here that was like a tide. That's it. This person's a tide. This person might be an illusion. This person might be wounded. This person might be in an emotional storm. This person could just be lying. This person could be all sorts of things, but it doesn't necessarily have any hindrance on our own emotional fulfillment, because emotional fulfillment comes from our own self. So self. 99 is a master number. Being the change you wish to see and helping humanity release what no longer serves. So humanity, collective beliefs are that my environment has to be a certain way in order to prop me up and give me value. That is untrue. The self here, okay, when I say self, I'm talking about the authentic self, can derive value, confidence, and create a world without the external form of other. And this is something this person can give to themselves. And they can also give to their environment, as long as they're coming from the sun energy, because the sun shines on everything and it doesn't discriminate, like I said. Okay, but what happens when this person is sort of expecting others to give handouts of something like this, it's like, no, then what all we experience is an up, down, and an inauthenticity and confusion and 7 cups and disappointment. And people maybe being sneaky or trying to protect themselves or avoidant or lying or untruth or whatever the mood is in that moment. So I feel like there's a disappointing experience that we're having that isn't necessarily being shown in truth. And there's a lot of factors here. And all these factors are all outside of the truth of who this person absolutely is and the core of who they are. And as long as this person is disconnected from the core of who they are, they can't see the truth, and they're sort of buying the illusion or buying the lie or pulled up and down based on the avoidance or the lie or the strategy of someone else who might not necessarily be in the greatest of energy. And I feel like, because like I was saying, this Neptune energy was giving me Pisces energy. It's like if someone is disappointed or if they're at their low or if they're feeling down, it's like I'm tied to that energy and I believe it to be my own. Or at least I'm so bled into this person's energy or the circumstance that I don't know the boundary of what's me and what's this person. And then I experience disappointment and it's like, but it's not true because it's not your own weights to carry. It's not your own disappointments. It's not your own poor experience. It's not even the truth here. And so it's saying, do you understand where your true happiness and value lies? That's outside of form. And so because we're talking about subconscious, there could be something that was formed as a child here. And this child with the Hierophant as well could have been told that you're only loved when someone communicates to you that you're loved. And so when you deal with someone who's lying or not saying or not sharing or disappointed in you, that means you're not loved. That means you haven't been of service. That means you're not valuable. And so we've encountered someone here that might be doing these things to trigger this childhood wound. Or as a child, we didn't understand here our own value unless we were, again, like shown appreciation by those in which we could create with. So maybe it was like we never had a chance to explore on our own or just be a child or find our own independence or explore outside of ourselves. We were always sort of maybe forced to work with our sibling, or like we were always maybe compared to our sibling, or maybe we were always sort of congratulated as a group effort, and it never became like an individual sort of thing where we could see our own value, rode on our own sort of energy. It wasn't dictated or predicated, I should say, on like another's involvement or experience here. Okay, that's just one sort of example. Another can mean that we were so tied to self, as a child, like self validation through when we worked with a parent or when we did something good. It's like, there, you're good because you did well, or you gave to a situation, you were of service, you only when you do this you're of value. But when you whine or when you cry or when you are just being, like, you're not of service. And so it's like, I must be, I must do, I must give, I must be invested, I must involve, and then I'll be appreciated. It's like, but when the other side is not working with me or it's not lining up, it's like, now I'm not seen, now I can't prove my value, now I'm not of service, now I'm no longer fulfilled here, now I'm like not in this energy, and I need to seek it. I need to create that environment. I need to create an environment where someone's going to work with me, and then I'm going to see my own self-worth, and then I'm going to then feel love, then feel value, then see it. And it's like Spirit saying, no, see it first, see it now, see it, it's already there. And if we're not seeing it, it's because the veil here is distorted by someone else's energy in which we're maybe bleeding boundaries or we're not seeing. Wheel of Fortune could be in a karmic experience. Could be a pattern we're having to break through, okay? Like the pattern just keeps repeating until we get conscious enough to say, let me understand this pattern. Why do I keep trying to seek someone's approval? Why do I keep trying to work with someone or create with someone or collaborate with someone? Why is it that I'm up, down based on what this person might say, or when they're in a good mood, or when they show up, or what they tell me about me? And then I crash really hard when they don't show up, or when we can't collaborate here, and I feel stunted. I feel like my power has been stripped by maybe someone else, or someone might be acting a little unreliable or immature, or they're not contributing here in the way that I thought they would, or reflecting to me this balanced giving and receiving energy. And then I feel stuck in a loop or in a cycle. And it's like, can we see the truth? Have we learned the lesson? And only then can we shift this energy. Only then can we see through the seventh sword. And I don't got to sit there disappointed looking at what didn't work and what can't work and what hasn't worked and what's blocked and what goes up and down and what's temporary and what is holding my happiness hostage and what gives me confidence and what doesn't. And because if we're there, then we're constantly sort of tied to this up-down energy, stuck in this loop of pattern until we break it. And it's like, I could be of service to give, because just like the sun, the truth is I am that I am, and I could give and I could receive, and I am not at the mercy of any other energy that's maybe experiencing their own ups, downs, or their own distortions, or their own avoidance, or their own lies to self, or their own disappointments, or their own world, because they have their own world and I have my own internal world of happiness, truth. And so I can shift this. I can shift it myself. I shift it because now I start to see and understand differently. I start to ask these questions differently. Not how can I please you more? What can I do to earn your appreciation? What can I do to see through your illusion or your lies or your avoidance and make myself seen, make myself, gain confidence by your approval? But what can I do in order for me to find fulfillment in myself, in order for me to build and create in my own energy without the need of relying on external approval that is temporary or fluctuating? Okay, and pile number 3. This is your reading. I hope this helped you. I love you very much. I'll see you at the next one. All right, bye-bye.